Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to MidCat's WISER 2025 Women in Intelligence, Security, EHS, and Resilience. This forum is dedicated to empowering women, a cause we've proudly championed over the years. With each passing year, we've grown wiser as a team and as an industry, and WISER 2025 stands as a testament to that journey. We've been very privileged to host industry leaders and trailblazers at every edition, and this year is no exception. Thank you to each one of you for taking the time to join us today. I'm Vishakha Shasta, Senior Analyst with MidCat's Data Surfer team, and I'll be your host for the event. With International Women's Day just around the corner, we think it's the perfect time to reflect on this year's theme, which is Accelerate Action. This powerful call to action urges us to move beyond conversations and drive tangible change, advancing gender equality and empowerment across all spheres. Our distinguished panelists today exemplify accelerate action through their relentless pursuit of progress, transforming challenges into opportunities and inspiring change within the field of intelligence and security. At MidCat, we are truly honored to uphold the essence of this day through an interesting series of conversations lined up for the event. Before we dive in, a few housekeeping reminders. Although we'd like you to stay with us until the very end, if you're unable to do so and need to step away, the discussions will be available on our YouTube channel for you to watch at your convenience. For any questions, I request you to please drop them in the Q&A box and we'll address them during the session. Now, let me take a moment to walk you through the agenda of the day. We'll begin the session with our first panel discussion on women in Intel leadership, moderated by MidCat's Director of Operations, Ms. Aparna Guddad. Next, Anushka Mahanta, Team Lead for Data Surfers Americas and EMEA team, will unveil the much anticipated Women's Safety Handbook. This will be followed by a demonstration of MidCat's Data Surfer platform by Aishwarya Nagar, Senior Analyst at MidCat Advisory. We'll then transition to our second panel discussion, Women in Security Leadership, led by Mr. Sushil Pradhan, who is also the Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer at MidCat Advisory. This will be followed by a conversation on women in resilience and ESG, moderated by Mr. Mitesh Shah, who's a director at MidCat Advisory. Finally, we'll conclude the day with our fourth and also the last discussion on societal transformation and the relevance of DEI, moderated by Ms. Farah London, who's our regional director. So we have an exciting series of sessions ahead of us, and without wasting much time, we now begin with our first panel discussion on women in Intel leadership. Ms. Aparna Guddad, the moderator for this panel, is the Director of Operations at MidCat. We look forward to a thought-provoking session. Aparna, over to you.
Thank you so much, Vishaka. Thank you for setting the stage. And as we begin, WISER, at MidCat, or everybody at MidCat, we hold WISER as one of the symposiums that is very, very close to our heart. With the 2025 edition, not only will we be discussing the various challenges faced by women in this field that is historically and quintessentially perceived as a male domain, we will also be celebrating the remarkable contribution of women in shaping the landscape of these critical fields as we collectively pave the way towards a more inclusive and robust future. Before we start, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. We promise an engaging interaction that will hopefully leave you very inspired. For me, it is an honor to be here to moderate the first panel on women in Intel leadership, with remarkable leaders who have made a serious headway within this challenging field. Without further ado, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce my speakers. I would request a panelist. Yeah, I think all my panelists are on camera right now. So as I introduce you, I would really request you to unmute yourself, say hello to the audience so that they can immediately relate to you. So my first panelist is Ritija Sasmal. Ritija is currently leading Siemens Corporate Security in South Asia, along with the country security officer for multiple Siemens businesses, such as public mobility systems, smart infrastructure, and digital security. She specializes in combining intel analysis and security ops in travel and project security and crisis management, while supporting physical security and incident management. Ritija holds 2 masters, one in sociology from JNU and in strategic studies from RSIS Singapore. and has over 10 years of professional experience with majority in intelligence in companies like Siemens, Reliance International SOS, and political research for the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade in Mumbai. Hi, Vritaja, welcome.
Hi, Aparna. Hello, everyone. A very good morning to you. Really happy to be here and share my experiences with you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Prithija. Over to you, Radhika. The next panelist is Radhika Haldar. She is a senior intelligence analyst, embedded resource at Pinkerton, covering the APAC region. Previously, she led the global intel team at Midcat Advisory, and she did a fantastic job. So I can definitely assure you that, and contributed to policy research and security sector reform in Nepal and India. She has also authored a book titled Understanding Suicide Terrorism, published by Routledge in 2019. Hi, Radhika.
Thank you so much for that generous introduction, Aparna. Hi, good morning to everyone. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be here, as always. Thank you.
Over to you, Saloni. Saloni Salil is a crisis management and global resilience expert, currently serving as Deputy General Manager, Head of Department, Global Resilience Center and Crisis Management at VFS Global. She specializes in risk intel, business continuity, and crisis response, leading global resilience strategies, travel risk management, and security audits. Previously, she managed Global Resilience Center at VFS Global, focusing on real-time threat monitoring and incident response. She has also held key roles in Wipro and Adobe, overseeing political risk and assessments, enterprise risk management, and security ops. With a strong background in geopolitical analysis, she has contributed to several reputed publications, providing insights on maritime security and Indo-Pacific affairs. Apart from a master's in geopolitics and international relations, she also holds a LLM in maritime law that enables her to enhance her understanding on corporate security and risk management. Hi, Saloni. Good to have you here.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Aparna. Thank you for having me as part of this esteemed event. It is a privilege to be speaking amongst a group of women leaders in Intel. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Saloni. Over to you, Sunita. Last but not the least, on our panel is Sunita Keskar. She is a subject matter expert in sustainability, business resilience, and risk management. She used to lead sustainability initiatives in University College Dublin, focusing on climate action, carbon offsetting, and stakeholder engagement. Previously, she served as manager business resilience at Wipro, overseeing business continuity strategies across India, Saudi Arabia, and Costa Rica, with leadership roles at Red Hat, Corenet Global, Springer Nature, and Infosys. She has extensive experience in ESG compliance, crisis management, and sustainable development, driving resilient and responsible business practices. Hi, Sunita. So good to have you here.
Hi, morning everyone. Thank you so much for that amazing and powerful introduction, Aparna. It's indeed a pleasure to be speaking and meeting such powerful women. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's start the discussion, starting our discussion with Vrithija. Vrithija, you have over a decade of experience in this particular profession, and you have dabbled with various aspects of intelligence and security. How do you believe diversity in leadership impacts decision making as well as their outcome, especially in intelligence operations? And collectively, what do you think? What are the steps that need to be taken to improve this balance, this diversity?
Thank you, Aparna, for that really interesting question. And it's also very topical, I must say. Okay, so people bring their lived experience to work, especially in intelligence analysis, which really values a diverse background. In my experience, what I've seen, and also, of course, diversity is very important in any kind of leadership, whether it's gender or geographic, ethnic. Simply having a different kind of background or experience also matters. Also, gender, if we are talking about gender here today, it's almost always intersectional. So that is, it cannot be seen in isolation from other aspects such as class, caste, race, or ethnic origin. So when you bring such kind of really, different diversity, say diverse diversity and leadership together in an intelligence function, you can ensure, like much richer quality of intelligence. It's enriched with cultural and gender perspectives, insights from work experience, travel. Then a lot of your intelligence is also very authentic. I'll give an example from my current team. For example, we are working across different time zones, and we are working very closely with the China and North Asia team, and Indonesia and ASEAN Pacific team, which also looks at after Australia and New Zealand. So we have a plethora of regional expertise coming together. And anytime we see a piece of information that we want to verify, we can reach out to our colleagues. And in this way, the intelligence that we collect and process becomes much more verifiable and reliable. Then your quality of the intelligence that you're creating or analyzing, it's also very collaborative in nature. What I mean when I say this is when intelligence influences decision making, because intelligence is not an end itself, right? And it generally has a bigger purpose, like a business purpose. It's either to support your security operations or directly affect your business decisions. So if you're a woman leader in the intel or security domain, it will certainly help the organization's security operations, say physical security or crisis management, to be much more sensitive to gender and other forms of diversity. We see this manifested in things like, where families and, family members of employees are involved in crisis situations where we might need to support them, provide them with psychological counseling, or evacuate them in the worst case. So having that kind of a diverse person in a leadership position in the Intel function will, of course, help in the outcome of this intelligence. I would mention is having a diverse leadership, gender diverse leadership will also ensure that you are empathizing with your women employees when they're traveling and what goes on in their travel area, or even day to day, from our own day to day experiences in cities like Delhi or Mumbai. So we know what to look for while, when we are walking down a lonely stretch of road, we know what to be cautious of. That kind of insights come into your advice when you look for, look to advise female employees, as well as in general employees and things. And okay, maybe I should rush. Is that so? So yeah. Finally, I would say that collectively, what are the steps that need to be taken? I'll only touch upon this part, but let me point out a few general things, such as hiring talented and promising women in the intelligence field without a bias or an intention to straight jacket them into limiting work scope. For instance, we always think that okay, let them only do a desk job, or let them do something which doesn't require traveling. And then two would be to retain that talent through very supportive policies for a better work-life balance, such as providing them with work from home support, their return to work, especially after maternity leave. Then nurturing the right work environment, so both inclusivity plus physical infrastructure which are suitable for women employees and diverse employees, and finally training and the right exposure to high performing women, providing them with exposure cross-cultural and cross-departmental, which will ensure that they venture into more senior roles and do not leave the workforce, and finally are able to break the so-called glass ceiling. So yeah, I think that's my input for this question. Happy to take any questions later on. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Aparna. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Those were some excellent insights, and some key takeaways would be that when it comes to diversity, when it comes to female leaders in this field, it is about authenticity, it is about empathy, sensitivity, and taking decisions based on personal experiences as well. So those were amazing. Now I would like to move on to Radhika. Radhika, you have shouldered some very heavy responsibilities from a young age. Would you like to discuss the importance of mentorship and sponsorship, especially for women in this field, in the securities field as general, but specifically in the Intel community? And if you would like to touch upon who were your mentors and how did you reach this stage? Yeah, over to you.
Thanks, Aparna. Thank you for that question. Yeah, I think mentorship is extremely important. And like you rightfully asked, why is it important? Why in Intel and why for women? I think a mentor is ideally able to guide their mentee using examples from their own lived experiences. I think Ritija also touched upon that. You kind of build on examples, you use your own lived experiences in a manner that fosters growth and encourages the mentee to be vulnerable and honest. I think this is particularly useful in the Intel community because this is still a space where we don't necessarily have clearly set traditional paths that lie ahead of us. So it is really useful to understand what women in this space are doing that have a few more years of experience, a few more years than us, right? As an Intel analyst, I think generally we're required to bring out actionable intelligence with forward-looking analysis while remaining unbiased and as objective as possible. This space can be very tricky. We don't always get it right. So having this space for that kind of a debate or discussion with a mentor is really important, where you can go back and forth, you can kind of really test whether your analysis holds weight or not. Needless to say, it's not always going to be the case that, your maybe analytical forecasting is correct or that it's, necessarily on point. So a mentor will ideally be able to open up a space for the mentee to make those mistakes, to take accountability for them, and to use it as a learning opportunity to grow from. I think women particularly need that in the workspace because we are not necessarily encouraged or taught to own our mistakes. We're usually trying to cover them up. And I think, of course, mentorship benefits not just the employees, but organizations too. Organizations that don't devote resources to women in the workplace are missing a large opportunity to develop their human capital. Companies that don't take steps to cultivate women leaders often find their most talented women leaders leaving for greener pastures. This isn't just me saying this, of course. I'm an Intel analyst. I brought data to back this. This is per 2024 McKinsey report on leadership representation at most US companies that suggest only 1 in 4 C-suite leaders is a woman. And that's the case in the US. Mentorship, I think, can be both formal and informal. While organizations can establish formal mentorship programs that would, connect experienced professionals with women at various stages of their career, with the structure, resources, and training. I think fostering a culture of collaboration and open communication, as well as knowledge sharing, will organically foster an informal mentorship relationship within the workplace. And I think that may be equally useful. I have personally benefited from this as I've learned from my peers and those that have been, around in the field a few more years than I have. I found it incredibly useful. And I think platforms like WISER are a great place to seek that too. So thanks to MidCat for that. I'll leave it at that, Aparna. Thank you.
That's absolutely wonderful. I think what really we could get out of this is that it's when we are talking about a mentor and a mentee relationship, it's also about building that ecosystem wherein new joiners as well as women and people from all ethnic backgrounds can absolutely feel at home and flourish, and that is what we should all strive to achieve. But thanks so much for those insights and also the stats that you shared. Now over to Saloni. So Saloni, what can't you do? Huh? Your profile is absolutely amazing, and you've been handling some very challenging roles. So basically, we want to know how do you manage work-life balance in a demanding field like intelligence, and what do you think organizations can do to support this balance for women? Yeah, over to you.
Thank you for your question, Aparna. And I think it's very relevant, especially for women in intelligence leadership. In my personal view, managing work life balance in a demanding field like intelligence is very challenging, especially when you're working in high stake environments where intel is time sensitive, where dissemination of information is very crucial. Your availability is required for 24 into 7, and it can lead to burnout, especially if you're working on multiple crises across different time zones. So, in my personal opinion, or as I've experienced it, that there are certain things that can be done by individuals as women leaders, as well as the organizations would be. We can promote more flexible work hours or remote working options or hybrid models, because it helps you balance between work as well as your personal well-being. Because when you're working in such high stake environments and when you're required to be available 24 into 7 as the job demands, because crisis sees no time, crisis sees no day, no holiday, no weekends. It can happen at any point of the time. It could be 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, whether you're working in whether a crisis erupts in China, Middle East, Jamaica, everywhere altogether, you have to be available. So I think flexible working can really help and support women balancing both. In fact, all employees who are working in such global roles, and when you're looking at enterprise risk, you should definitely prioritize mental health, because it's all brain work, right? And you need to be fresh to be taking quick responses or real time quick actions. So I think mental health should be looked after. For that, taking regular downtimes or taking regular breaks from work can also be helpful. I think another way that can really help is by delegating and upskilling your team, and then delegating tasks to them so that they are more independent and not codependent. As a leader, there are times when I could be unavailable due to sickness, or because a family emergency has come. At that point of time, you require your team to step up, so you have to train them and upskill them in a way where even if you're not available, they are willing to take those crucial steps, or at least reach out to the right people to take to manage crisis at that point of time. And another thing that I've had in my experiences is the very strong, organizational support. I've gone through a personal loss in, 2 years back, and that time, the organization was very supportive and gave me that downtime, gave me the time to, work at my own pace. So I think at least I've experienced, that kind of camaraderie within the organization, and that's the kind of support system. For organizations, I would say that again, they should promote, or at least have squeezed work weeks, or have additional line of managers under the leader, so that there is equal balancing of work and nobody has to kind of overstep, or has to be available all the time. Everybody gets that break from work whenever required. For women, especially who are married, who've got kids at home, and who have to balance crisis responses, I think parental leave policies and also having crutches in office could be very helpful. uh, Again, the organization itself should encourage time offs to their team members, especially if you see, I think good leadership is that when you can see that burnout or that stress on your team's faces, or you see it's reflecting in their work. So I think that's also very important. And I think earlier Radhik or Ritija had mentioned a point about mentorship and leadership. I think that also needs to be developed. So basically, I think fostering a flexible and supportive culture can help maintain professional effectiveness as well as personal well-being. Thank you, Aparna.
Thanks so much, Saloni. Not only did you touch about the importance, about the challenges that are faced in this particular role, but you also spoke about how important it is to focus on personal well-being. It can happen because of the criticality of, job on hand. Certain things can take a backseat, but that's something that should not be done. And also about upskilling. It is about creating future leaders, so that there are enough and more efficient people to, there is no dependency on one person. So those were some amazing insights. Now we will move on to our next panelist, Sunita, who comes with a wealth of experience in this particular field, and not just the experience, she has been extremely committed to her vision of integrating ESG in every single sphere. So Sunita, from your experience, would you like to share a success story from your career that illustrates the impact of having women in leadership roles? So over to you.
Thank you, Aparna, for that question. It's indeed great to hear all the women leaders share their stories and give these insights. So it's definitely again a moment of proud state that I am being able to share this platform for all the amazing leaders here. So I'm going to touch upon some of the points which Radhika, Saloni, and Ritusha has already covered. Right. So individually, we all have our respective journeys. As a woman leader, I would say that there is no fixed path which works the best. I think all of us have, we come from very different backgrounds. We have our learning spaces. We get those opportunities. Some females, women could get that early in their career. Some could carve their own path at the initial and then take, as they some of us mentioned that about the mentorship, right? You could take that lead, and I think all I would say is it is amazing to see this space change, wherein we are seeing women leaders in respective or in the board meetings, board members, team, as well as the executive teams. It's absolutely great. We are seeing that happen extensively in India as well, and that makes me very happy and proud. While we would have not really reached those numbers as it is in Western or Europe and all these areas, but then I think slow and steady definitely would give us that kind of a path. All I would say is today, after I have been fortunate to get that kind of a help and support from the organization as well as leaders. I want to reiterate that it is not necessary that you could the woman as a mentor, or any leader who is a strong leader. Definitely you can lean on. So please go ahead and lean on the resources which are available in your formal environment as well as informal learning. I'm a strong believer that learning happens in our both personal as well as our professional world, and that is one of the reasons wherein I want to share that I'm very happy to say that after 16 years of work experience, I'm pursuing my master's in risk resilience and sustainability from Dublin to enhance and build that nerve and muscle to get into this domain, right? So the beautiful thing which I experienced over there is where as we aspire to be in leadership, right? It's okay not to be perfect on any given day. I think we should be individually comfortable, because once we are comfortable with that thing, it is much more peaceful outside. As women, as a mother, as a working professional, as an individual, we take this heavy burden, we take this heavy lifting day in and out. So I would say that please utilize all the resources. Please, it's okay not to be, not to show up on every single day, 365 days. As Saloni mentioned, that we all are in extremely challenging environments. I was fortunate to meet some of the great women at the university as well, and it just astonished me that how beautifully they are able to, obviously, just like some of us are doing the heavy lifting over here as well, are able to manage the personal as well as professional life. It gives a different sense of achievement when you are into the leadership role. So I would say individually we should be able to cascade that kind of an opportunity to every single female. I'm not just trying to get biased over here. Definitely there are more opportunities out there for men compared to women. So I would say that as a woman leader we should be able to cascade that opportunities to every single person in our team, so that that strength which we, Radhika, Saloni, and Rituja, are talking about, we are able to build that pillar, the pillar of strength for us to fall back on, not only in case of crisis, but I mean, that kind of a comfort. And it goes back to building that kind of a rapport. All of us are aware about the number of hours we spend in office or, doing our official work. That sometimes takes over more than the personal space what you sharing at home. So it's extremely important, and that's when we hear that that's our second family. So to create that kind of sense of belongingness and sense of achievement. And I would say the last thought I want to leave is it's okay just to unwind, and there are times wherein uh, it's hard to move out of your office or that kind of a working commitment. It is extremely hard, but that little break, it could mean right from taking off for your coffee wherein you are not talking to anybody, right from not appearing for a particular day. Those kind of momentary breaks definitely rebuild you as a great leader. So all of us have different journeys. We should lean on, keep looking for positivity, and become that strength, because as we all are day by day, I think especially our post covid as well, we are all have been put to test in every single form and manner. So hence it's all the more that if you're in a role, if you're able to cascade and have foster that kind of a positive environment, that definitely makes you stand apart as a leader. So
That
that's all I have.
was absolutely beautiful, Sunil. And the fact that you touched upon, the aspect like we are always craving for perfection. We are always trying to at least attain that, attain that perfection. But it is fine. It is fine to be vulnerable. It is fine to lean on support. It is fine to ask for help. I think that was absolutely beautiful. On that note, Vritija, I think everybody would want to know. There are a lot of young people who have joined this particular, event. Can you talk about specific experiences or opportunities that helped you develop your leadership skills in the intelligence field? What are the courses or skill sets that you would advise young analysts to focus on to grow in this career?
Uh, sure, Aparna. Thanks for that question. So, if I were to talk about my experiences, I would first of all recognize that I have had some privilege, of course, of having a supportive family, and all those things have been there. So, moving forward from that context, without removing it, I would say uh, kind of diverse early life and diverse work experiences really helped me. Like I belong to a small, village town, in Howrah district of West Bengal, and it's nowhere close to any kind of development. Even if I have, I am now much older, but it's still the same. You can understand what kind of location I'm talking about. But I lived there for the initial almost 20 years of my life. And post which I shifted to JNU, where I learned a lot, and then worked for a while, and then went to Singapore for a while as well. In between working with corporates, I also worked with an NGO for a short while, and I wish I worked there for much longer. And I think I've learned so much in the development space, and it really rivals my years of corporate experience. So I find that, and well, I also am forgetting the years of work in the Australian consulate, which is also again very different. But all these diverse experiences helped me, develop different approaches to problems, different lenses to view a certain, issue with, and a lot of interesting people to work with. That is my second point. That I was really fortunate to find very interesting people, great people, uh, and including some of these, who I consider my mentors, including some of my managers, friends as well, and people in the industry and outside the industry. Um, and in this way, I was able to be part of a broader intelligence community. That has always helped me finding, maybe if I'm looking for a piece of information, I can quickly call back on that community and ask for on the authentication. It also provides a sense of belongingness. So, and finally, I would mention, I like previously mentioned, that I've got excellent organizational support and opportunity for work-life balance. And, this has helped me retain my career. So also this is a privilege, I would definitely say. Not everyone has it, but we should strive to have it for more and more people. More and more organizations should support their women employees. So yeah, so for young analysts, I would, go. I have a long list, but I would only say, mention a few things. First would be, there is no compromise on your deep learning. Focus on learning. Nothing replaces years of experience. And when you look at a large chunk of experience, 10 years, 20 years of experience, it's really small moments of learning and day-to-day revelation. So try to reflect more frequently and learn from what you have gone through in terms of professional development, and make your profile diverse. Travel, read, volunteer, and incorporate those learnings into your intel skills, be it OSINT or human or whatever. and learn languages. That's very important. But you can even use your native language as a strength. Now we see more and more. There is so much interest in India, various Indian languages which were not part of, say, the conventional, corporate world so far. Like, I don't know, could be Assamese, could be Manipuri, could be any language. If you know that, you have some kind of strength. You can leverage that strength and basically use all your experiences as your strengths. They're not your weaknesses. Develop your critical thinking skills. Learn to be absolutely unbiased. Question everything. Double check every detail. Double check, triple check as many times as you can, and learn. Try to see where this information is coming from. Go back and check the source. Um, then I would say communication skills is pretty general, verbally and written. AI can help, but first you need to know how to communicate what you want from AI. So that is also a skill. So you get the idea. Like I said, community really helps. So be part of a community. Join as many groups. It doesn't even have to be an intelligence specific group. You can join groups, whatever you're interested in, and you will see that you are learning from them on a day-to-day basis. It could be on social media or physically as well. Don't be scared of asking for help at any time. I've realized that more people are willing to help than we realize. So just ask away. Out of 10 people, maybe 8 would refuse, and one would not respond, but at least one person will respond. So finally, I would say understand your industry, your business, or your the business that you're working for, or your client that you're working for. What are their profiles and interests? Because ultimately, the business analysis is linked to the security function of a business, and it is supposed to support that function. It's supposed to have some outcome for the business to protect employees, assets, uh, you know. So you need to know what they want, who is your audience, and you need to customize it. So develop your work ethic on the basis of all these factors, and you'll be sorted. That's all from me.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks so much for that. We may have to rush a bit, but Radhika, one more important aspect that we need to discuss is in what ways, in your opinion, in what ways do you think women in intelligence can collaborate with their male counterparts in other security domains? It is important to foster a more inclusive work environment, and we are in a setup wherein we have to interact and deal with a lot of male counterparts. So what are your inputs on that?
Thanks, Aparna. Yeah, I think it's extremely important. That is quite a valid question. But I think firstly, we have to also understand that it would be ideal if we look at our male colleagues uh, and counterparts as allies. I think it's upon us to at least approach them that way. All of them may not necessarily be so, but it is our job to first of all approach it in that manner, right? There have been several studies that show progress towards female equality in senior leadership is accelerated when men act as allies. I think this basically means having the space for an open dialogue and honest interaction about some of the challenges that we may be facing by virtue of being women or just generally as well. I don't think it will make you seem weak. I think panelists have also mentioned that, Ritija also mentioned that just now. It's not necessarily going to make us look weak if we talk about, the challenges that we're facing or the struggles that we are undergoing. I think if anything, it'll help our male colleagues and counterparts understand us better. It'll potentially help navigate their hidden and unconscious biases. We all have them. So, again, and it'll also make some room for ways in which they can possibly help us. In many cases, I feel that my male colleagues have wanted to help but have not known how to. So it is also my job to kind of have that exchange with them and at least give them an opportunity to act on it, right? I think in a country as diverse and dynamic as India, we women encounter a unique set of challenges, whether it's cultural norms or ingrained gender biases. sometimes I think you just need to spell it out for those that are around us, and so that they can make sense of it. We shouldn't assume that because they're in India and part of the same society that they already know everything and they should understand us. Just talk to them whenever and wherever we feel that we can or we feel the need to. I think it will be received way better than we expected. Thanks.
Yeah, beautiful. It's about also helping them understand, right? Yeah. Thanks so much. Saloni, quickly, could you shed some light on innovative leadership strategies that are necessary for addressing the contemporary challenges that we face in intelligence gathering?
Thanks, Aparna. I'll keep it really, really short. Uh, as in my personal experience, what I've noticed is there's a huge amount of data available and the umpteen number of sources available for intelligence gathering. But one of the biggest problems is stifling through that data and also triangulation of that data to verify whether it's correct or not. So you'll check various websites to verify whether the report that you've received is correct or not. So I think at this point of time, leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning could be very helpful. It can help you integrate, it can help you automate all the data analysis, identify patterns, as well as predict threats. And I think predictive risk intelligence is the new buzzword, and AI and ML can really help in that. For that, I think training your teams to be able to use that cutting edge technology is also very important. And as a leader, because we've also had a long journey, to be able to use those tools effectively is also very important. Plus, I would say cross sector partnerships where you have several risk consultancies or service providers where you can engage with more of them and get that information from them. Also, I think one strategy that can be used by across the board is simulation, as we do it in defense forces. So simulations and scenario planning that can help better crisis response and quick real time actions. And most importantly, I feel is that developing crisis response team and protocols are in place. So when a crisis hits, everybody knows their roles. They are well defined. They know where to pull the information from. They know what to do, and everything is streamlined for quicker actions. Thank you, Aparna.
Thanks, Saloni. And there's a question for you in the Q&A section. So, just if you could look into that. While I move on to Sunita. So, Sunita, please do share your thoughts on the rise of technology and how data analytics is changing the landscape for women in leadership, especially within the intelligence community. Yeah, over to you.
Thanks, Aparna, for that question. So, as we heard from the all the other panelists as well, that as we are in the era of technology, definitely extremely important. I think for each one of us, and specifically more so for women, because as we continuously, I think, continue to build the muscle for learning, it is the key, right? Whatever you've learned, if you're able to blend in that along with the technology, it'll definitely set you for a fast forward path, be it in terms of extending that knowledge to the leadership, taking that to back to your teams, as well as adding those kind of inputs to your organization. And as others mentioned, that definitely I'm a strong believer, an advocate of learning, that constantly throughout our careers. I think there was a time, and this is my personal opinion again, that there was a time wherein x number of years did matter, but we are in an era of an technology based, as well as constantly, with there's so much of change which is happening in every possible length and breadth, which we haven't seen, our previous generations haven't seen at this fast pace. So it becomes all the more important that we keep ourselves equipped, as some of us mentioned, that it's okay to call out for help. Sometimes whatever we are thinking is absolutely just within us, and it has amazed me within my own examples as well, when I reached out and I was like, okay, it was not that bad to ask for a help. So it is absolutely fine. As I said, we should be able to deal with ourselves. We have high standards put for ourselves, but in order to surpass this kind of the technology growth and the other options, and other system environments which we are in order to move ahead of them, it is absolutely important that we lean on the all the resources which are available. We are able to call out that as and when it is required. And if there are times wherein we struggle, we can always look for plenty of formal, informal resources which are available, which can aid our learning. So thank you.
That was amazing. So I think we have 5 minutes, and in these 5 minutes, I would want all the panelists to share their concluding remarks and probably let the young professionals know who are there on with us right now on how they can emulate your success. So let's keep this short, probably 30 seconds each, but whatever your final last thoughts are, and what would you like to say to the audience? So Vritija, your thoughts.
Sure. So I think I live by this, that you can never know enough as an Intel analyst. Listen to every voice, see through every lens, and imagine every scenario.
Amazing. Radhika, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I would just like to say we've talked about it already on the panel quite a bit. Own your mistakes. Don't view them as weaknesses. Just own them with pride, and know that that is what will nurture growth and resilience. So yeah, don't let them kind of bog you down. Yeah.
Incredible. Saloni, your final thoughts?
Thank you, Aparna. I would just like to address all the young aspirants and future leaders that corporate security is a dynamic field that requires continuous learning and adaptability. So embrace challenges, stay proactive, and I wish you all the best. And I would just like to end with a quote, and we always say that very fondly in the security circuit, that security is excessive until it is not enough. So basically, we are always in a flux. How much of security and to what level of security will keep changing according to the security environment. Thank you, Aparna.
Thank you so much. Sunita, over to you. Your final thoughts.
I would want to encourage each one of us on the call to learn more about sustainability and ESG. I can say that whatever we are learning in our respective domains, it is absolutely applicable. Today, sustainability is applicable to everything under the sun. So, constantly show up every day, be proud of yourself, and continuously keep learning.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely incredible. Uh, Thank you so much to all the panelists for speaking from your experience, from speaking from your heart. To the audience, thank you so much for staying with us. And we do hope that some aspects of these discussions leave an indelible mark on you and it propels you to achieve great heights. Please do stay back for the unveiling of the Women's Safety Handbook and Data Surfer demo. And we have a trailblazing panel discussion on women in security leadership lined up by none other than our COO and Executive Director, that is, and my mentor, Colonel Sushil Pradhan. So thank you so much, and back to you, Bishaka. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Just a quick one. So, such an interesting discussion. There have been a few questions from the audience on the Q&A box and on the chat box. So, I'll request all the panelists to give their own experiences and share that knowledge with those people who've raised those questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Aparna, for moderating such an insightful discussion. Very interesting thoughts indeed, from every panelist, like touching base on important issues like diversity, work-life balance, upscaling, and mentorship. Personally, it also had a very special significance for me as Radhika was one of my first mentors when I joined this industry. And, she has a great role to play for wherever I am today professionally. Thank you, panelists, for setting such a great tone to the event. Now we move on to a very special part of the event, which is the unveiling of MidCat's Women's Safety Handbook. I now request Anushka Mahanta, who is a team lead at Data Servers America and EMEA team, to do the honors. Please take over, Anushka.
Thank you so much, Vishakha. And a very good morning to everyone present here. It is an absolute honor to welcome you all to the launch of the Women's Safety Handbook 2025. It is a crucial resource that is designed to empower women with practical safety measures for navigating different aspects of daily life. Women's safety continues to be a pressing concern in today's world. Despite existing laws and regulations, crime against women remains high, with challenges such as harassment, cyber threats, and workplace safety issues still prevalent. So, this handbook has been created as a comprehensive guide to help women stay aware, prepared, and empowered in different environments, whether traveling, commuting, working, or even staying at home. This handbook provides clear, actionable advice to enhance safety and reduce risks. The safety handbook covers a wide range of critical topics, which includes safety awareness and self-defense techniques for different situations, guidelines for safety travels, which could be by road, by public transport, or even international trips. Cybersecurity tips are also included, which are there to which will help you prevent online harassment and fraud. Then workplace safety and legal rights against sexual harassment. And lastly, there's also emergency response measures, which will help you to how to seek help, how to report crimes, and stay protected. This handbook is not just a collection of guidelines, it is a tool for empowerment. We urge everyone to read, share, and apply this knowledge in daily life, ensuring that safety is not just an individual concern, but a collective responsibility. The Women's Safety Handbook is now available for download, and you can find the link in the chat box. Thank you for being a part of this effort to make the world a safer and more secure place for women. Let's take action today for a safer tomorrow. With that, I would now like to invite my colleague Aishwarya to take us through the next part of today's discussion. Over to you, Aishwarya. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Anushka, and a great start to the event. I would just share my screen and then we can begin the Data Surfer demo. Data Surfer is MidCat's risk intelligence platform, which is designed to safeguard assets, business operations, and people by providing actionable insights in near real time across the globe. And upon logging in, we would see the risk exposure for mapped assets. At the top, we have the alert information bar, which is going to show us how many events have been reported in the past 8 hours. It's divided into the total number of events which have been reported, those which have been reported in proximity to mapped assets, and those which have been watch listed. And this is also done in on the impact level, which is crucial warning and notification, and what type of alerts have been reported, informative or intelligence alert. In the middle, we have an interactive map, which is going to show us all the lat longs of assets provided to us, and these are color coded by the risk exposure to that particular asset, from very low to very high. And what this visualization does is it helps us figure out what are those pockets or events which we need to focus on immediately, perhaps. On the left-hand side, we have all the mapped assets. Again, their risk exposure has been given. And once we view report, we would be able to see all the events which are actually contributing to that risk exposure. On the right-hand side, we have the proximity screen, which is going to help, which is going to show us the events which are being reported in near real time to mapped assets. And then we have recent uploads, which is going to show us the intelligence which has been reported on the portal for critical events, right? Then we move on to the concentration risk map, which is going to show us hotspots of areas which have reported the maximum number of events in the past 8 hours. You can choose the risk category to see where civil disturbance, the maximum number of events have been reported for civil disturbance, external threats, so on and so forth. Then once we move to the menu bar, we are going to go to the Data Surfer functions page. And what we offer are 4 functions: critical event monitoring, which has live monitoring for those events which have been reported in the past 24 hours, forecast monitoring for dynamic events and static events in the upcoming days. For dynamic events, it's up to 90 days. And historical data for all those events which have been fed into the portal in the past 3 years. We also have risk analytics, risk reports and advisories, and contact analyst. Now, in live monitoring map view, we would be able to see all those events which are being reported for the subscribed geographies in the past 24 hours. These are divided as per the impact level, crucial warning and notification, and you can choose which category of risk you want to concentrate on and the countries of your interest as well. We have 2 types of alerts: informative alerts. These are for those which are in near real time, and they are basically used to give a heads up to a particular business about upcoming threats, and intelligence, which give us further contextualization and risk analysis on events which are taking place. Now, in the case of informative alerts, we would see that we can get top level information like the location it has been reported in, time and place it has been reported in, and exactly what is taking place. And the call to action button comes in the form of request analysis, which is going to turn it into an intelligence alert, add to watch list, or you can also bookmark a particular event. Now, once you have requested analysis, it's going to trigger an intimation to our team of analysts who are working round the clock 24/7 or 365 days a year, and they would be able to get back to you with further information. Now, in the case of intelligence alert, the call to action button changes to view analysis. And in addition to the top level information, you would also be getting a one-pager risk analysis and the option to see the geofencing for that particular event. Once you have added a particular event to watch list, it's going to go to this screen, which is customizable. You can add up to 5 events in the watch list. And what it does is it's going to start giving you situational development for a particular event as and when they arise. And you would also be able to access the timeline of the event which has been taken place. So that is what the watch list alert screen does. In the proximity alert, the alerts are basically funneled down to only reflect those which have some sort of effect perhaps on your mapped assets. So it's only going to show you those events which are taking place around your asset locations, and therefore the impact level then changes to risk level from very low to very high, right? Once apart from the map view under live monitoring, we also have list view and event snapshot. In the list view, you would be able to create custom monitor as per the location of interest that your team is working on. And you can also choose the different categories of risk that you want to see events for, right? In the event snapshot, you would be able to see from 1 hour to the past 24 hours what is being reported in a geography of your interest. This could be country, city, or even around your asset. And basically, this helps you get a top level summary of what to expect in that place as per the duration of your interest. Then we move on to the forecast monitoring, which has upcoming events and event calendar. Upcoming events is for those dynamic events which are being reported on the daily, and you can choose a forecast of up to 90 days as per the categories and the countries of your interest. You can also download them in an Excel format. And in the event calendar, this is published at the beginning of each year. You would be able to see those historically recurring events which have reported or which have caused some sort of business disruptions in the past. And this basically helps you with planning and mitigating risk well in advance. This includes protest anniversaries, commemorations, festivals, so on and so forth. Then we move on to the historical data, archived events. We do have data since the past 3 years, which has been fed into the system. So just to give an example, you can choose the duration of your liking, you can choose the risk categories, and you can then go ahead and look at what events have been reported over there in the past. This can also come in handy for doing a risk assessment of your own. Then in the risk analytics part of it, we have, you can do risk analytics for a region or even for a particular office or asset location. And in the region specific analytics, you can do it for individual regions, or you can even get a comparative study. So for example, for the purpose of the demo, I have chosen Australia and Canada. And in that case, you can see how many, which region is actually reporting more number of risk events. What is the regional distribution? You will be able to see a top level heat map of where exactly the risk events are being reported. You would be able to see the risk and sub-risk categories. And this can also be done for one particular region or asset, right? Then we move on to the risk reports and advisories, which is going to give you a repository of all the special reports, advisories, periodic updates that have been created by our team of analysts. You can choose which is it that you want to focus on and the country of your interest to be able to get this repository, right? Now, apart from that, we also offer city briefs, which are particularly useful for travelers. So this is what a city brief looks like. It's going to show you all the key risks, the business hubs in that area. Is going to show you the hospitals in that area in case of emergency, helpline numbers, and top level recommendations as well. And this is done for all of the geographies that we are currently covering. And then finally, we have contact analysts, wherein you can reach a specified person of contact, which is assigned to each and every user of this portal. And in case you want a special report or a bespoke, advisory or travel advisory created, you can contact our analysts and they will get back to you with the required information. Then finally, we also have security and settings. This is to give you freedom to choose who are the users of the portal, what are the locations that you want to monitor, and it also lets you choose what kind of alerts it is that you should receive, and what are the risk categories that you should receive, who should receive these alerts, and in which form, whether you want them on WhatsApp, you want them on email, whatever it might be, you have the freedom to be able to choose all of this. And with that, I come to the end of the demo. And if there are any questions or if you want to book a demo, then Kunal would have left the contact details in the chat box. Thank you so much. And I give the mic back to Vishaka now.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya and Anushka. The Women's Safety Handbook has turned out wonderful, and I strongly encourage everyone to explore it as it can be a valuable resource during security emergencies, particularly for women. We shall be circulating the report across, and it'll also be available for download. Also, thanks Aishwarya for the crisp demo. That was a clear and comprehensive overview of Data Surfer, an incredibly valuable platform for professionals like us. Dear audience, I like to take this opportunity to urge you to reach out to us via email or direct message. If you'd like a demo of the platform, we'd be more than happy to assist you. Moving on, we now begin with the second panel discussion of the day on women in security leadership, moderated by Colonel Sushil Pradhan, who is the Executive Director and COO at MidCat Advisory. Colonel Pradhan is a renowned expert in security and crisis management, and we are honored to have you with us, sir. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vishaka, and thanks to everyone and the panel. One was amazing and wonderful. Good to see. One is hardcore Intel analysts participating, and secondly, I think you all must have noticed the amazingly young age profile of all those panelists. So it was so good to see them so articulate and so confident and so insightful about whatever Aparna had to throw at them. And I'm also grateful to Aishwarya for wrapping up her demo so quickly and so concisely, because we seem to have been given a few additional minutes. I'm just going to wait for a couple of minutes for one of our panelists to join, that is Steffi. But in the meantime, what I will do is use the time wisely to introduce the other four panelists of our panel who are already here on the call. And that's Sadhana, Ivana, Manisha, and Meena Baswaraj. So while we wait for Steffi to join up, I shall take this opportunity to give a bit of introduction about the panelists. Thank you so much, Sadhana, Ivana, Manisha, and Meena for joining this. I know you all have busy schedules, and some of you have spoken to me saying that, can I just jump onto my panel and then jump out after that, because I got so much work and I have visitors in my office and I have my boss to speak to and things like that. So really appreciate your time. And this panel is going to focus on women who are in security. Now, we have a good profile of practitioners and security service providers. For example, Ivana is into the business of providing security services to clients, and we have Sadhana, we have Meena, we have Rashmi and Manisha, who are actually practitioners of corporate security for their respective organizations. So without going any further away, so Ivana is actually based out of Dubai, and she's the head of the Protective Services Group. She's the manager for Securo Group, which specializes in geopolitical intelligence, travel risk management, and business continuity. Previously, she served as a support coordinator at Intellize. Is that right, Ivana? Intellize?
Yes, that's correct. Intellize.
Intellize, enhancing risk analysis and crisis response. Appreciate your being here. And welcome, Ivana.
Thank you very much.
Rashmi Devkumar is the head of security and administration of Titan Company. with over 11 years now at Titan. She's worked before that at the HR head at Nationwide Primary Healthcare Services and also as a program manager for the State Human Resource Management Unit under the government of Odisha's Health and Family Welfare Department. And prior to that, she has 11 years of experience in the Indian Air Force. So huge amount of experience, and welcome to the panel, Rashmi. Thanks for being here. Rashmi, can we hear you?
Sorry, thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for having me
Check
here.
whether-
You can hear me?
Absolutely, great.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
So,
We also have Meena here, who's the lead of facilities and global security for GAP. And she's got over 15 years of experience in security, resilience, in operation management, vendor oversight, and risk mitigation. Meena is based in Hyderabad. Thanks, Meena, for joining us today on this panel.
Thank you for having me, Sushil. Great feeling to be here.
Yeah, thanks. We also have Sadhana. Sadhana is a consultant with the Niti Aayog, and she's an official who specializes in public policy and foreign affairs. And she also has a decade of experience in the Indian Army in the Corps of Signals, where she was focusing on communication infrastructure, network administration, and cybersecurity in various kinds of terrain and operational environments, including counterterrorism. Thanks, Sadhana, for being on the panel.
Sir, thank you very much. It is indeed my pleasure to be amongst this panel, which is full of women who have carved their own path. So hello, everyone, and thank you very much.
We also have Captain Manisha Singh, who's also a certified professional CPP. She's the regional security manager for South Asia for Bayer. And after her military service, she's also had extensive experience in corporate security, crisis management, and investigation. She also led the security operations at Amazon and VFS Global before joining Bayer. Thanks, Manisha, for joining us on this panel.
Thank you, sir. And I truly appreciate being a part of WISER and share insights amongst other leaders here.
So I'm sure Steffi will join eventually, because we had given her a time of 11:15 and we sort of jumped the gun. But I don't want to hold up the audience, and I don't want to hold up the existing panel members. So we will start off with our discussion, and Steffi will join us eventually. She's based in Singapore. So, what we are going to do is we have some questions that I have outlined for the speakers with their concurrence, based on their areas of expertise and their areas of experience. So we shall have a round of questions where I'll request the speakers to give out their views on those questions. Subsequently, we have another round of questions, which depending on how much time we have available, we shall take on those. If there are some really burning hot questions from the audience, I shall pick up one or two of those as well. And towards the end of the session, we will take some closing quotes from the people. So thank you so much. And what I'll do is, I'll start with Ivana. So you've been in the field of corporate security for a while now. Do you think, and do you see that there is an increasing representation of women in the field of physical security and safety? Is this completely competence driven, or is also partly because of the need for organizations to have greater diversity in workforces? I know it's a bit of a loaded question, but appreciate your views because you have a world view on this.
100%. Thank you very much for the question. This is quite an interesting one. To be honest, I have joined the industry some 5 years ago, and yes, I can definitely see the increasing representation of female in the field, but driven both by components and the need for greater diversity in the workforce. In general, representation of women in the industry has been growing steadily, I would say, over the past decades, that I kind of managed to dig out. According to recent statistics, women now represent just over 22% in leadership roles and just under 25% in close protection officer roles, guards roles, which is quite significant, as if you look at 10 years ago, it was virtually to non-existent. That's amazing and a great improvement. And I have to say, while diversity initiatives have certainly helped open the doors and made female presence wider, I think the competence remain, the key driver. Organizational skills require professionals with the right skills, experience, and the training as well. I have to say also that women in security often bring unique qualities to the table, and many excel in communication and de-escalation skills, which are crucial in high tension situations. You have to agree with that. Next, high levels of empathy and approachability, fostering better cooperation between security teams and communities that they serve. Next, attention to detail. I believe that's the quite important one, and diverse problem-solving approaches gives us higher ability to identify and mitigate the risk. When I first entered the field, I mentioned I was often one of the few women in meetings and industry events. And, I remember looking around in the conference rooms and seeing mainly suits, and which barely just, a handful of female faces. Today, things change and the landscape has, changed dramatically. At recent industry gatherings and, few that I'm looking forward to go in the near future, it's a pleasure to see much more diverse audience and, registration and seeing those, females names around, which is encouraging. And, females are not longer exception, but they're becoming an integral part of this. I'm going to share just, recent experience that highlights the impact of this change, my personal experience. Our team was tasked to provide security for a client in an African country. And for this assignment, we deployed all-female security team, including the team leaders and close protection officers and drivers, and I led the task. So if you look at it, the task has been handled full female from inquiry to invoicing. And funny enough, my accountant is also female, so technically we kind of close full circle. And the results were impressive. I mean, equally to any team handling it. And, I cannot kind of praise enough how much we have kind of reached that level to be equal and, can compete with our colleagues. This story is just one of example of how, this increased gender diversity is enhancing our industry's capabilities. It's not about replacing one group with another. It's about creating balanced teams that can tackle the complex challenges in this, modern security. That being said, while we made significant progress, there is always, work to be done. Women continue to face challenges in this industry, and I don't think that will disappear anytime soon. This includes, gender bias and underrepresentation in the leadership roles. I believe that's, our collective responsibility to address these issues, to mentor, to support female insecurity, and to continue, pushing for equal opportunities. The future of physical security and safety lies in diversity. Again, that's my personal view. And this is, by embracing and encouraging the participation of female in our field, we're not just going to do the right thing. We're making our industry stronger, more innovative, and, better equipped to protect and serve in an increasingly complex world. I believe that I catch the majority of the question.
Thank you so much, Ivana. Wonderful experience. And, I'm sure all the women on the panel and in the audience will resonate with the fact that years ago, there was just one woman in the room when there was a meeting going on related to security and safety. And today you have so many in the room, and they are there because of their competence and the recognition of their individual worths. And I also really appreciate the point about being, communication, empathy, and some such factors being core strengths of women over men. And that is why you all are doing well in areas where interventions and protection is required. In fact, one of my colleagues who's on the call, and she's Harshita, she's been leading operations for another organizations, not just in India, but in the UK also. And I was just talking to her and she said, I was selected over so many of my male colleagues to go and represent the organization in London and extricate some of the and help out some of the people during the Russia-Ukraine war initial few months. So it's really creditable that the organization picked up somebody from India, that to a woman, to go to the UK, spend a year there to help out their operations, and hats off to all of you women there. But before I go to the next speaker, I'm going to firstly apologize to Steffi for starting off before she joined, and I'm also going to take the opportunity to introduce her. Steffi, I'm sorry, my previous panel and the demonstration, etc., was so on time that we had everybody logged in and the audience was waiting for us to continue, so we had no option but to start. But we appreciate your joining us. So Steffi is the Senior Program Manager of the Data Center Physical Security Incident Managed team for Microsoft across the Asia Pacific region. She has led security programs at Meta's global security data centers with the Securitas Group and Milestone Technology. And she also serves as an advisor for gender equality and women's empowerment at the World Health Innovation Summit. So welcome, Steffi, to the panel.
Thank you.
And I'm going to put the next question directly to you, where, corporate security has been a tough field for women to break into, like Ivana was saying. Do you feel there was high resistance initially, personally for you or people around you? Or conversely, do you think the men in the industry went out of the way at times to be extra supportive? Do you think there is a genuine acceptance now, or is there still an undercurrent of reluctance in that boys' club of security, and they are accepting people like you, professionals like you all, a bit reluctantly, much against their beliefs and their ethos?
Thank you, and thank you for the question. And I'm sorry I'm a little bit late to the panel today. In terms of the question, I suppose for me, I have kind of a little bit of a unique security background in that I didn't come from a security field. So when it came to me being going into the corporate security world, it was a very different than my initial career path, because I used to be a teacher. I was from an academic background. So I don't think that the hesitancy or maybe some of the reluctance or resistance that I faced initially came from a gendered position. I think it was just purely a curiosity as to why a teacher would leave teaching to enter corporate security. And for those who had a lot of expertise and experience in the field and operational experience, they thought it was an unusual choice of career path. I don't think I knew what I was signing myself up for at the time. So I would say that I didn't have resistance in that respect. I absolutely relate to Ivana mentioned being the only woman in the room. I found that in the early part of my career, I was often the only woman in the room and often the youngest woman in the room, and definitely the only woman that hadn't come from that typical security background. So I suppose that was kind of something that I, instead of kind of seeing that as a disadvantage, I kind of used it as something that was advantageous, because I didn't see problems, or I didn't see issues the way that everybody else necessarily did. And as well, Ivana mentioned that the highly skilled, we tend to be very, very good in terms of communication. So I think I was able to kind of leverage my background in education, communication skills, organizational skills, being able to adapt my communication for different audiences. All those were very advantageous to me as I started out in my career in security. So I would say that there wasn't that kind of hesitancy there. But I also would counter and say that I did have a lot of great support from male colleagues and allies. And I don't like this kind of to be a gendered issue. I don't think it should be a male versus female thing. I think quality leadership is absolutely dependent on being an excellent mentor. And if you are really worth your salt in terms of your leadership skills, not just by title, but by your skill set and your experience and your ability with people, it's very much about being a good mentor. And I had excellent mentors that most of them happened to be male because of the industry that I was in, but they were very much motivated by shaping talent and by sharing knowledge, and cheering on your successes, and also being there to support you when things were not exactly going to plan. So I think that's really important. And I would say as well, my first boss took a big risk on me, and also gave me a lot of opportunities. And I think that, by just being able to be in the room and watch the decision-making processes, and especially earlier in your career when you are learning, how things work, it's really important to at least have a seat at the table. You may not be initially in a position to contribute to those conversations, but it damn well makes a difference later down the line when you get into a leadership position, that you really understand all of the operational issues that are at play from different parties and different stakeholders and different backgrounds. So I suppose that would be my experience with that. The third part of the question, sorry, it was a really long question. The third part of the question, I don't think I hit. What was the third part of the question, Sushil, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. So, Steffi, the third part of the question is that do you feel that there's a genuine acceptance now, or is there still some reluctance?
I think, again, this is kind of not just to the security industry at large. I think that you have to work with the reality that when we look at a C-suite level, less than 10% of Fortune 500 companies are CEOs that are women. So this is the field that we play in, and I'm in the security profession, but my specialty is in data centers, and within data centers, there's even lower numbers of women that I've worked with across the last number of years in my career. So I think that you are working within those constraints, and until you see leadership across different industries, across government agencies at a 50-50 ratio, then you are not going to see policy that is absolutely totally shaped and directed and supportive towards women's advancements in their careers. So we need to have that leadership from the top levels down, I think, is really important if we want to see those really pivotal changes that drive further inclusion for women in this industry.
Thank you. I think that's really a good insight into the transition from a school teacher to a security professional and specializing in data centers, where I think, to be honest, thanks to you, of course, we have some of them in India in your organization now, but I think you chose a path which was completely unique, and appreciate that. There's a little supplementary question for you, Steffi, which you don't have to answer now, which is when do we see you in India next? So
soon, usually soon. Yeah, my in-laws are actually just after arriving from India, so we'll be going the reverse direction very soon.
We're going to meet you then, of course.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to now move to Meena. Meena, you've been in the industry for 15 years now. So how does security leadership view the transition from the traditional approach of physical security of guns, guards, gate to a more risk-based approach? And since things have changed, or what has changed now, if you could identify, that enables more and more women to enter this domain seamlessly?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Sushil. So I think first, the change that you're talking about is necessary, right? Very necessary to, it's an evolution to address the contemporary and rapidly changing security landscape. We've seen security landscape is like ever evolving. There's nothing that is like constant. Okay, this happened today, tomorrow, same thing may happen. It's very necessary that we move out from the traditional process. I think I'll take a two-fork approach to this question. Physical security is definitely moving from guns, guards, and gates to, I think, GSOC tools and AI now. I think that's more of what security we talk about. And it's more risk-based, of course, right? We're moving from more tech-driven, more of a holistic security management we're talking about. Why risk-based? Of course, risk-based approach relies on data, analytics, and, it prioritizes threat, right? This allows us for more information and strategic decisions to be taken. And now when we're talking about data, tools, strategic decision, I don't see what gender has a role in this at all, right? Like what stops you? So to be very candid about your questions, are we talking about security moving from muscle power to brain power? Yes, right? So that's what we're talking about. And then gender has got no place. It's same for all of us. And I think that is what is definitely given more space for women to be in this place in the security field. That's one bit of it. Let me come a little closer to home with regards to the tech side of it. So there is part of Gap, the Gap stores which are there, which I handle, which is physical retail security perspective. Right? There is so much that has moved out. There's so much of surveillance, of course, happens, but we're talking about motion detection. We're talking about AI-based burglar alarms, RFID for retail stores. And all of that is being handled all the way from India now. We have a GSOC which manages stores, which is not corporate security of you're doing headquarters, right? We're doing real threats, like we're addressing where you have real burglars happening, real, intrusions happening into the stores. And if we moved to that, and I've got a team who of 50% of my team is women, right? Like what stops them actually doing this? And frankly speaking, I feel that I could have hired all women, but I was trying to be not biased. So that's what I see in this. And the second bit of it is, Sushil, that I see is the executive protection, right? The very core of security that we are talking about, which was just guns and guards and move, right? There's a huge convergence that you see with executive protection and in hospitality. And it's moving together. And this is something that I remember you talked about in one of the OSAC meetings as well, right? The very fact that this leads to another example of why this is a good amount of risk assessment and pre-planning involved in this, right? It's just about not your guns and then you're going around with you know doing the actual physical security. There's so much of process that involves. And exactly like what Ivana had said, right? There is a unique set of skills that women get. There's a perspective which is very different that women get. And I feel very proud about it. Like when we are talking about something, as you said, you're the only women in the entire group when that happens. And your perspective is way different and people start seeing it from a very different lens when you open your mouth. Because we can clearly see the perspective difference when women talk about any aspect as such, right? Because that is the whole point of diversity. You see it from all angles, right? And I think that is definitely something that can contribute. And there's the contribution that women get to any field, not only security, let it be even the data-driven security or even your executive protection. There is an invaluable contribution that happens. I feel it will be great if we adapt that and build a security strategy with all perspectives taken into account. If you ask about addressing your second question, do we have how do we do this, or how are women actually being considered, or how is it working with the corporate as such? There is definitely a cultural shift that we've seen. There's more of let it be risk based or women in security. Answering both your questions, there's a cultural shift that is required and that is ever changing. There is good numbers that we see with security that comes in before mid management. There is a huge opportunity, I feel, in middle management and above, right? That's getting leaner and leaner. And we as mentors definitely have to, have more allies who can talk for us and vouch for us and ensure that we are there even up in the ladder. I think that is something that is very, very crucial, and I am surely going to do my part. And as Steffi said, I had amazing mentors who've done that for me, and in a way that I didn't even feel the difference that they're going an extra bit, but I'm sure they've done a lot more behind me. I think that is something similar that all of us have to strive to do.
Thank you so much, Meena. Very good insights. And actually, you're leading me on to the next question to our next panelist, because you spoke about how initially in a very sort of exclusive field, men who were there already helped you and guided you and mentored you. You then took on a leadership role and you took on more people in your team. And I think if you cross that 50% barrier, you're going to get accused of reverse gender bias. So don't do it. I think stay balanced. But and the fact that today all these competencies are all being recognized, it is skill based and gender agnostic, where the hiring and mentorship of security professionals go. So Sadhna, you've also been around in the military as well as in the field of corporate security. I just wanted to take this statement of Meena's forward, that there are women now who are in the leadership roles in corporate security. Are they doing enough to support in terms of mentorship, guidance, and give opportunities to more women, of course, based on competence, both within their own organizations and in the overall environment of corporate security?
Right, sir. First, I'll tell you my personal thoughts on this. There are three other panelists here who are from Defense Forces. So in Defense Forces, we don't just help each other, but we do take care of each other. That goes personally and professionally. Personally, because usually there will only be one woman amongst thousands of men, where like my first posting for 4 years, I was the only female amongst a garrison full of men, 5,000 to 10,000 of men. So that tendency that comes from within, taking care of other women, juniors, seniors, and we seek guidance from our seniors. That was my personal thought, that for 10 years I have been doing that. We have been doing that for each other. However, in corporate security, the challenges, the situation, that is a little unique. So within an organization, women often tend to compete fiercely, not just only with the other women, but with men as well. And I think it is deep rooted in our psychology, fighting for the opportunities, fighting for the chances. However, at an industry level, at a broader level, the scenario is quite different. I have seen women professionals go out of their way to support and uplift their female peers. Like, we all will vouch that in a room full of people, usually it is the tendency that we go and interact with our fellow female peers who are there, who we see are little vulnerable. People who are in a senior positions, like that is at least what I do. I see that somebody is a little vulnerable or a little junior, we do go to them, we make that effort to interact with them. So I've seen women professionals go out of their way to support, to interact, and uplift each other in a certain way. Perhaps this is because in this broader space, women no longer see the gender as the other. It is like we are one. We recognize the importance of collective growth and solidarity. When it comes to the question of mentorship, guidance, and creating opportunities, I believe, like Steffi, Ivana, Meena, everybody has amply focused on that we ourselves have been mentored, guided by me, myself, I've been mentored and guided by men throughout my life, throughout my 10 years of service. So that onus and opportunity, that onus shall not only be on the women leaders, it shouldn't fall solely on women. Professionals of all genders need to step up and actively contribute to nurturing and empowering female talent. Those who are truly secure in their own capabilities, those who know their job, those who are professionals, regardless of gender, often they make the most natural and effective mentors. And all my previous panelists, and I'm sure my next panelist, we are going to vouch for that. So fostering an environment of genuine support and mentorship, we requires intent, effort, and a commitment to building inclusive spaces where talent thrives, unburdened by the gender, competition, or bias.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sadhana. And I'm sure the others also echo your thoughts. So we've spoken of individual level mentorship, men mentoring, women mentoring. Rashmi, I wanted to ask you, what are the organizational measures where, so the various organizations that you have seen around you or have worked in have taken positive steps towards inclusivity of women in the fields of safety and security, and your personal experience, if any?
Yes, thank you very much, sir, for that question. The very fact that there are so many ladies, so many women leaders, accomplished, powerful leaders here sitting in this panel and across is itself a testimony to the fact that the stereotype that which we had about women not being there in the security industry, we are breaking that stereotype. However, it is a fact that the representation of women continues to be less. I feel that it has got to do with, to start with in the security domain, it has got to do with removing the barriers, the mental blocks, and unconscious biases that people might have regarding the capability of the women. Probably they might be thinking that a woman might not get her hands dirty, or it'll be difficult for her to manage the VRs, or probably get through a tough investigation and things like that, which definitely is changing. And like what Meena was saying, 50% of our team members are women, and that itself is a testimony to the fact that we are waking up to the fact that women are able to do and accomplish things, if not better, then at least as good as the men do. With regard to the other organization, probably I might not be able to comment, but I'll definitely want to take you all through my journey itself, in Titan. What do we do for women and what has happened so far? Very recently, the last year, Titan ran a program called ACE and ACE Plus, focused on development of women leaders, right? So there was a group of managers, senior managers, leaders who underwent a mentorship journey collectively over a period of 3 months. And in that, it also had this aspect of shadowing a senior leader from other Tata Group companies. So all of us got to spend and shadow the women leaders. For me, over and above that, I was given the opportunity. I'm an HOD of a department. I head the security and admin vertical for Titan, but I also got the opportunity to shadow one of the senior most women leaders, the CEO of Titan, and also had mentorship opportunities with senior leaders. So what happened was it opened up that connect, the channel of communication beyond work. It helped me gain a perspective on what has their journey been, what is their perspective, beating those self-limiting behaviors or self-doubts, and moving ahead and understanding, okay, how do we go about what should a leader be, and beat those apprehensions. But even before that, my journey probably, I also want to take you back in time. And we're back in 2018. I'm a part of the Tata Group's project manager cadre. So I got this opportunity to represent the Tata Group for disaster response in the 2018 Kerala floods. I was deployed at Idiki, and I was to lead the response. And I was to work with volunteers from the Tata Group who would come in for about 7 days' time. In fact, I spent about 22 days in the field, and over the period of 22 days, there were these volunteers who came in for a period of 7 days. I didn't know any one of them, but that adversity actually gave me an exposure to working with different organizations. I was to interact with civil organization, village officials, bureaucrats, tribal leaders, and it gave me a sense of accomplishment. At the end of those 22 days, when we left, we had kind of provided relief to 4,000 people and families in an unknown terrain, absolutely hostile environment in terms of the devastation that had come about, and working with total strangers. If that accomplishment could have happened, it was after beating, it was because the organization actually vested that responsibility and the faith in me, saying, maybe I will be able to shoulder that. And when there were other men, there were other capable leaders who were around, if I was chosen, I think that helped me discover the strength and the power within, and to beat those inhibitions that probably will I be able to do it, or how can I kind of continue delivering on those responsibilities. So what I feel is, given an opportunity, everybody goes through those moment of doubt, but the opportunity, when it comes by, one should be proactive enough to grab it, take whatever opportunities come for leadership development or any volunteering opportunities, so that it helps us understand our potential to grow, and probably make a difference to not just yourself, but to all your fellow women, men, the team members around, be an inspiration and lead on.
Fantastic. A lovely example of that you gave. And, again, hearing that, it took me back to what Ivana said about where you had that huge advantage probably over other leaders, was those two important qualities of communication and empathy, where you could communicate with various levels of people to solve the disaster relief problems, and you could have empathy for the people that you were working with. I think those were very strong qualities. So we've all heard the good stuff so far. Manisha, I'm going to come to you to ask you that security and safety are not the best or not the most glamorous parts of corporate world. There are tough parts, and you have to be tough. What challenges do you see, or have you seen in your experience of three multinational organizations that you worked with, and of course the military experience before that? What are the challenges that women face in getting into this field of security leadership, thriving there, and how do you suggest to all the people in the audience to overcome them?
Thank you, sir, for the question. It's quite interesting, actually. We all are aware, that corporate security or the security domain as such, is traditionally been seen as a male-dominated vertical or profession, whether it was defense or whether it is defense or the corporates and the corporate security per se. So this itself makes it not so popular with the women workforce, And to start with, the challenges that prevent women from pursuing career in corporate security, I would like to start firstly with a lack of training curriculum or courses in institutes, colleges, where we get into college and understand what we want to do in our life, right? So that is lacking, which in a way limits the visibility of corporate security amongst women. Secondly, I have also gone through this second step that I'm telling, that there is a perception, that women might not be able to handle high pressure or stressful, situations or physically demanding situations as men. Right. So we all know and are cognizant of this fact that today the women are fighting wars as well as are commanding units in the defense and paramilitary forces. And as well as they are equally competing successfully with the male counterparts in the training academy. And that training is supposedly to be the most difficult training that anybody can go through. It's really, really rigorous. Thirdly, I would like to say that there is an unconscious bias in hiring women, and once they are hired, they are not probably promoted to the right level or given the right exposure to rise at a leadership role. So that also has been seen as a challenge. Why? As to women, after joining, probably move into other verticals. And lastly, I feel lack of credentials and certification among women is also a hindrance, So to address the barriers that what we can do as corporates or corporate security leaders is firstly to increase women representation, as we have heard in all the panel discussion that we have had today. We have come down to this conclusion that yes, there is less representation. So the hiring managers need to work consciously on this, having a percentage in mind and to track it. Then secondly, again, I would also like to harp upon this and emphasize here that mentorship is extremely, extremely important. And along with mentorship comes coaching. So I have also been, I also have a mentor who was my first CEO in the Indian Army, and till today, he's my coach as well as a mentor. So anything happens, I do fall back to him. Similarly, there is lack of mentorship from top women leadership amongst corporate security. We have a lot of leaders whom we want to fall back. What about, someone who wants to who wants to go and have a mentor as a woman? Do we have that kind of a platform ready for them to have a clear career path? And thirdly, I would like to say and highlight that corporate security is a huge domain. I mean, the word is only corporate security, but there inside we have so many things. Like you can say it starts from physical security, then comes this equipment security, or the a technical part of it, project management in corporate security, compliances, then it comes risk management, crisis management, BCP, name a thing we have. So we should have a conscious effort in hiring women in all these domains, and also the leaders should also give chance to women to have at least some tenure in all the domains of this vertical, so that it grows them as a great leader. Because someone working in, suppose, a crisis management vertical, this is my personal experience, cannot be the CSO until and unless that woman has experience of ground operations, has experience of, heavy investigations related to integrity or fraud, or has, field experience or risk management. So all this makes one vertical, that is corporate security. So we have to move towards that thing also. And lastly, I would like to say that we need to promote and foster a supportive work culture where women from all ages, we women are, very different from men, we all know. We have different kind of phases, whether we are young, middle age, or later. So we have to be supported in that manner. And not, there shouldn't be a comparison that, okay, that man is doing this, so you also. A woman brings many other things along. So, and this can also only happen when, leaders and managers have an empathetic and a very open mindset, actually. And to conclude, I would like to say that bringing women in corporate security at all levels is very important. What I see is, yes, we do have a 50-50 representation in guarding. We have supervisors, we have security officers as lady, we have assignment managers as ladies, women. But what about other levels? And I'm talking about not only top leadership, I'm talking about middle management. We should have an equal, representation of women in middle management, and that's where they will grow into the top management. And women bring with them skills like conflict management, empathy. They also bring great decision-making skills, communication, while improving the safe workplace safety, actually. Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha, for the very elaborate answer, and I think you did justice to the question.
Thank you,
And
sir.
we do have some time for a second round of questions, provided all of you just keep your answers very brief, maybe just a couple of lines and crunch points so that we don't overrun the time for the panel. So, Ivana, I'm just going to come back to you. Sorry, okay, let's start with Steffi. So you've been in a very different field, firstly from school teacher to security to data centers. Did you encounter any conscious and unconscious biases which felt that it was going to impact the growth in this field? And what do you advise to younger people in the field? How do you deal with those?
I think I'd kind of pick up on a few points that Manisha just mentioned there again around the development of women in and having that kind of diversity within the roles and scopes of your mid-senior up as far as your leadership levels. I think that for conscious bias, hiring practices can be really, really important for getting women into the security field, and also understanding, as Manisha mentioned, that there's so many different aspects to the security industry. I think there's a terrible perception out there that, the only aspect of security is guards on the door, and it's so much broader than that. We have entire verticals that are based on our financials or HR or business administration or project management and so on and so forth. And translating security into corporate culture and corporate needs is very, very different. And sometimes you're working with a lot of footfall, sometimes you're working with big infrastructure projects, which we specialize in, sometimes you're working in a construction environment and different countries, all sorts of different issues. So it's a very broad industry that really would benefit from having broad and diverse hiring practices for people from all sorts of different backgrounds. I think traditionally I would have seen in the kind of hiring practices where there would be a stipulation for military experience in a lot of roles. And I thought that that was something that can really be problematic if you have like less than 10% of your population that's female and in the military. I think that's kind of around the stat roughly for India, and I think for the US. You're really limiting your pool of being able to hire from certain segments. I think also in terms of the unconscious bias, things that kind of don't really help as women progress in leadership is things like overtasking as well, and taking on too much responsibilities. There's again a general kind of perception for women, and it's kind of sometimes fostered as well, that because we're such good multitaskers and because we can take on so many things at once, just give all those extra tasks, and that can really result in a lot of scope creep. And you need to be, especially as you go into leadership positions, you need to be able to kind of get out of the weeds, and you need to get up into the helicopter to make those strategic decisions, and you can't be down in the detail all the time. So I think those kind of unconscious bias, whereby, you know, the woman in the room is excellent at pulling the notes together and sending out the meeting invites and all that sort of stuff that kind of goes through as you progress in your career. And I also, giving a plug out to Microsoft Products Copilot, I think AI is doing a great job of getting rid of all of that, because we don't need to take the notes anymore. They're all automatic and we can send them out after the meeting. So I think, yes, there is conscious bias there. There's unconscious bias there. I think Manisha mentioned as well, or somebody else mentioned on the panel about like, and it's perception that women are not good under pressure. I mean, like, women, have you seen how many things that women can manage with children and family members? And like, it's such a completely ludicrous thing to say that women can't multitask or make decisions under pressure. I don't think there's anyone more fit. So these are some of the kind of societal things we need to challenge. I don't know if they're the industry per se, but these are some societal kind of perceptions that really need, you know, to kind of be looked at. I think one kind of good analogy I might give is, I used to be a history teacher, and there was this perception when they were trying to get women into politics and administration that they would be distracted by women things like shoes. So there's like a great picture of like women walking past the parliament and they're looking and they see a new pair of stilettos, and that prevents them from being able to vote and make a good decision. Like, I think we really need to look at how we perceive women's ability to make high impact decisions and strategic decisions. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Thank you so much, and I hope all the men and women on the in the audience have also taken some of these points home. So Ivana, Manisha mentioned some points. Steffi talked about capability of women to multitask, probably better than men. You spoke initially about communications, empathy. Are there any such other qualities where you feel that women have a distinct edge over men, which enables them to become better security professionals? Just a couple of points, if you have any.
Absolutely, thank you. I think, yeah, like you said, the majority was covered throughout the panel from the start to finish, and everybody mentioned quite a bit. I think for me personally, multitasking is one of the top one that I firstly bring when I say how we are different from men. And many examples we can give, but many are given already, so I'll just save the time. I think that de-escalating situations is one of our high skills, and I personally pride myself to have, as well as communication, and then that relationship building. And I must say, similar to Steffi, I wasn't a teacher, but I came from hospitality field with zero experience in the field. So, bringing certain skill set that you acquire throughout your life, regardless of your past, experience, can really help you, and how, we are different from our male colleagues. And I think, to keep it short, I think that, just a few that's worth mentioning. There's, huge list, and that's how we're different, but how we can, help each other, and, work better. But yeah, I think those are the few, points I would like to highlight.
Thank you. Wonderful point about the capability of de-escalating situations. And I think, I don't remember the name of the movie or who's starring it. I saw a wonderful Hollywood movie some time back about this woman who's a hostage negotiator in the FBI, and how she manages to do a much better than the male negotiator who was initially appointed, because he had some biases and a fixed way of doing it. And she brought up that empathy both within the kidnappers and the victims' families to be able to resolve the situation well. So I think that's important in the field of security, and especially you, Ivana, you've been dealing in warlike situations and hostile situations and providing executive protection. So I'm sure you must be great at what you do there. Thank you so much. And Sadhna, just again, very quickly, because we've already heard a lot of views about this and a lot of great examples have come from all the speakers. We also spoke about mentorship, but how do you see leadership going forward in the field of security, where women are taking more and more leadership positions?
So I would say from limited roles that women used to have earlier, as mentioned by the panelists earlier, from administrative compliance roles, we have now moved on to the strategic leadership. So we have, over time, we have moved into core security functions such as cybersecurity, threat intelligence, corporate espionage prevention, and crisis management. Women now lead security teams, and we have people amongst us who's already doing that in major corporations, overseeing global risk, crisis response, and business continuity planning. Out of 250, that is like from women in a room, we have come a long way. Out of 250 Indian companies, 55% are women CEOs. Globally, it's 24. However, in India, it's 55%. Globally, 35% are CFOs and 9% CISOs, which are the like corporate security roles that we have. Now, we do have come a long way. However, the numbers, they need to go up. We need to come together as a society. We girls, we ladies, men who are listening, I hope men are here in this discussion. That was my closing point. So I seriously hope that we have usually, now I'm diverting the conversation a little. Whenever we have discussions on women, in a forum, we do find that most of the people who are listening and hearing, they are women. So it's a request to the MidCat, to the WISER panel, that next discussion, whenever you have a women-oriented discussion, ensure that our male counterparts are also hearing to these conversations. Do keep a repository of it, or do keep the numbers with you.
Of course, we
So
will.
we do have come a long way, sir, but the numbers, they need to go substantially up.
Thank you. Absolutely. And just to be fair, we have 4 panels today, two of them being monitored by women, moderated by
That I have seen. We all have seen that, yes.
So we are safe. Okay. But yes,
Yes.
I get your point that your own organizations need to be hearing you, especially the men in
No, I am telling our male counterparts of
Yes,
all
exactly.
organizations.
Male
Yes.
counterparts across the organizations. A good point, and really appreciate those figures. Actually, I didn't know some of them myself. But again, a quick question to Rashmi. So you talked about how organizations can support people and especially women in doing better. One is doing better. Secondly, women have certain challenges, which also Manisha sort of outlined. How can organizations support women in having a better work-life balance so that they are able to contribute more to their roles when they are required to do so? Very quickly.
So, sir, I think in the previous panel also, Saloni had mentioned very aptly, it is a high pressure job that we do, and finding time or finding that healthy work-life balance is a challenge. At an individual level, I can say that it is about drawing boundaries, and probably as a leader, bringing up and developing your own team, mentoring them and delegating, empowering and delegating the responsibilities in a manner in which the team can step up in your absence and probably fill in for you whenever there is a requirement. That I think is the most important thing that the organization also can do for an individual, to help them with resources and for the individual to build a team which is stronger. And the third thing, what I would say is we are short of time. So it is up to us as to what do we do, what quality, how are we deriving value out of that time that we have. Say 30 minutes, for example, I can choose to either scroll my phone or I can choose to do something which is more probably productive, maybe a pottery or listening to some music or reading a book, which can probably calm me down better, help fire those neurons and help me balance and move on. So it is an individual effort and an organizational effort combined together that we can make the most out of the time that we have.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rashmi. And last question again to Manisha. We've heard about how people have overcome the various challenges and all that. What is your personal strategy for navigating this challenging field of security while maintaining a balance with your personal life, your family life, and other things?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the question. And it's a very, very valid question because we women, as highlighted earlier also by my colleague over here, that, we multitask. So first and foremost, we need to be very, very adaptable, and I think women are more adaptable than men because they can, be good at any environment. So that itself, cools a person down. Secondly, stakeholder management has worked a lot for me, and I'm pretty good in that. And I believe accordingly, then we can tweak in the policies and procedure. And as rightly said by Rashmi, we need to avoid, micromanagement, like she said, delegation. So we need to avoid micromanagement. If we delegate the right resources in our team, it helps us to focus on better skill sets that we have, and, to work towards the leadership requirement. And I follow an 80 and 20% rule, that focus on 20% work that gives the 80% result. So that has worked out for me. And also, feedback mechanism is very important that we should develop in our companies, because that helps you to identify the gaps and also work as to what are the gaps, and we work towards them rather than just, thinking that what we are doing is right. So a feedback mechanism is very important. That's it.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
we've been able to do a justice to our round of questions. And the last question, which I had kept for all of you, I think you already answered that in so many ways and so many parts as to how you would guide younger women coming into the field of corporate security. I think the examples that you've given and your personal qualities and your readings which you've given are themselves guide enough to these women. So thank you so much, Ivana, Steffi, Rashmi, Manisha, Meena, and Sadhna, for being an incredible panel. Really appreciate the candid way in which you gave out your views and your opinions. And I'm sure the audience has taken home a lot of useful points. And I personally have learned a lot of things from you all. So thank you so much for that experience, and hope to see you very soon in our other events, and of course in the next year's WISER for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for the great moderation. This was indeed a highly engaging session that covered everything, from representation, stereotypes, challenges and opportunities for women in the security industry to the evolving dynamic of the security landscape itself. So the USPs of women, like being, a great negotiator, being good adapters, empathetic, and paying attention to details, were beautifully highlighted in this panel. And Sadhna ma'am, thank you so much for the suggestion. We've been ensuring to have as many male audiences and shall continue doing so going forward. Okay, so now we move on to our third panel discussion on women in resilience and ESG. This panel will highlight the critical role women play in driving resilience and advancing environmental, social, and governance initiatives. This panel will be moderated by Mr. Mitesh Shah, who is a director at MidCat Advisory. Over to you, Mitesh.
Hi, thank you so much, Vishaka. Firstly, it has been a power-packed 2 hours where more than learning, I'm humbled by the experiences that each panelist has shared through their personal lives. On a personal note, I am surrounded by women in my house 24/7, married to one wife, 2 children, on a lighter note, and a helper, which is also a woman. So 4 women are constantly on me to make sure that I am on track all the time. On that lighter note, I'm sure a lot has been spoken about women in different domains, but my panel, which is also power-packed with distinguished professionals in the domain of organizational resilience, business continuity, ESG, is here to enlighten the audience with their perspectives. So in no particular order, allow me to welcome all of them. Thank you, Debarati Rana, who is the Head of Business Continuity Management at TIA Global, followed by Harshali Balil, which is the Deputy General Manager of Corporate Security, BCM at Voice. Then we have Lieutenant Commander Nitika Rai, who is Senior Technologist Consultant at EY. Then we have Kavita, who is the Cyber Risk Advisory and Consulting Partner of BFSI at TCS. Then we have Divyata Chelani, Assistant Vice President of MCX India. Thank you, everybody. I would just request everybody to on their videos. If you have done that, I'm not checking it, but I hope you're on it. I would like to introduce each one of you again in no particular order and then go ahead with the question answer session. Since the previous panelists have been on time, we would like to cover a larger ground of questions and would love if each panelist kept their answers crisp and short. To begin with, about Debarati. A quick introduction about all of my panelists. So Debarati is a senior resilience professional with expertise predominantly in the business continuity management and the crisis management domain, supported with internal controls, information security, and fraud risk management, along with corporate security. She is currently the committee member of Global Women in Resilience of BCI and also the core member of BCI Pune chapter. She is also the member of Mumbai BCI chapter as well as the Pune security professional. We welcome Debarati to this forum. Please give a hi to our audience, please.
Thank you, Mitesh, for that warm welcome. Hello, everyone.
Next, we have Harshali. Harshali is an accomplished professional with over 20 plus years of experience in business continuity management, crisis management, risk management, operations, ISO audits, project management. At her tenure at Voice, she is primarily responsible for comprehensive and refined understanding of the business continuity management, encompassing operations, people management, risk assessment, and development of effective mitigation measures across global geographies. She's an active member of several industry forums, including the BCI Women in Resilience BCI Pune chapter, where she engages with peers to share knowledge and best practices in the domain of resilience. Hi, Arshali. We welcome you to the panel today. Next, we have Lieutenant Commander Nitika Rai. Lieutenant Commander Nitika Rai is a seasoned professional with extensive experience in logistics, supply chain management, and technology consulting. She is currently playing a role of senior technology consultant at EY, where she specializes in Apex analytic solutions, system configuration, and process automation. Prior to this, she served in the Indian Navy for over 11 years as a logistics officer, managing large-scale procurement, supply chain operations, and contract management, including overseeing budgets. Her expertise spans across defense logistics, vendor management, and transformation. We welcome Nitika. Hi, welcome to the panel.
Thank you, Mitesh. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you. Looking forward.
Is Kavita. Kavita is a known name in the domain of cybersecurity and business continuity. Kavita Srinivalasu is a cybersecurity expert, currently serving as the cyber risk advisory and consulting partner for BFSI at TCS. With over 20 years of experience, she has led cybersecurity management, risk management, and data privacy for global yes, AstraZeneca, Wipro, Bank of America. A CyberEd board executive member and Women in Security India board member, she drives secure and compliant digital transformation across industries. Hi, Kavita. Welcome to the
Thank you for the warm welcome, Mitesh, and looking forward for this exciting session. Thank you.
We have Chelani. Divyata Chelani is a risk management and compliance expert, currently serving as Assistant Vice President at Multi-Commodity Exchange, only known as MCX. With over 18 years of experience, she leads the enterprise risk management, assurance, and ESG initiatives at MCX. Previously, she worked at Accenture, Intel, and ICICI Bank, specializing in anti-money laundering, operational, and regulatory compliance. She has played a key role in business continuity planning, sustainability reporting in the organization. With expertise in risk analytics, cybersecurity, and governance, Divyata ensures robust risk frameworks and compliance for financial markets. Thank you, Divyata, for being part of the panel. We are humbled by your presence.
Thank you, Mitesh. I'm honored to be part of this esteemed panel. Thank you. Looking forward to the discussions.
Great. So as I mentioned, we are going to talk a bit about the domain of risk and resilience, including ESG, and then we'll come about the women part of probably how much involvement they have in this particular domain. But I would like to keep it very broad level to begin with and have a quick 2 to 3, I mean, probably a couple of minutes from each panel about what is their perception, a bird's eye view about how is the landscape of resilience and ESG currently in India and Asia Pacific, wherever you're operating. What are you thinking? What are the new trends that are coming up? What are the key buzzwords? What is happening in this domain? Is it going up? It is going down? Let us know in a short 2 or 3 minute kind of thing. We start with Debarati from your side.
Okay, thank you, Mitesh. I mean, there are, of course, multiple thoughts, but I would just stick on one primary thing where I'm always more inclined, and that's the bit on regulations. So, would just like to call out that you just mentioned India and APAC, and everybody knows that, Europe is way ahead when it comes to any kind of regulation. So, we already have DORA, whereas the rest part of the world, they have not even started thinking about the resilience bit, and these guys are already ahead in the game. So of course Europe has kind of, I would say, the geographical benefit. All of them are kind of still glued together. APAC is vast. I mean, it's more of archipelagos and island countries and all which we have, but still I think what we need to do is we need to have strong regulations, and these have to be cohesive regulations as well, as in something which we can leverage from one country to another and be partner in that. Mostly the IT services industry, which is kind of booming in India, Philippines, Malaysia, and all. What all these countries, what all these organizations do is they always bank on the regulations which are from their parent country, be it UK or be it US or anywhere. So I think as APAC, something which we need to do is, kind of figure out the regulations and, kind of course, implement them strongly with heavy penalties or whatever is there. In terms of ESG, again, Asia Pacific and India is one of the areas where I would say where the challenges are more in terms of if you have to compare the progress. Coming back to the same point, I think we need more regulations, more awareness, and I would say accountability, person specific, organization specific, to make this successful. I would just leave my thoughts here and allow other panelists to, kind of put in their thoughts
That's
as
a
well.
great start. Also, that's a great start. I think nothing goes ahead if there are no regulations. So I think it's a great start to begin with. Thank you for that. Harshali, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, thanks, Mitesh. Firstly, I would like to say hi to everyone. There's some network issues during the introduction. So it's an honor to be a part of this esteemed panel and stand alongside all the inspiring women leaders and sharing our collective expertise. Talking specifically about resilience and ESG landscape, I feel it's rapidly evolving. The ESG principles are increasingly integrating across industries. We see governments, corporations, and investors emphasizing for a sustainable practices to see growth and stability. We also see some regulations which are becoming stricter. We see renewable energy adoption, waste management, carbon and footprint reduction. We also see that these regions are facing significant climate and natural disaster risk, and countries have also started investing in resilient infrastructure. Hence, I feel that these efforts contribute more to a resilient and sustainable future. So I would leave it over here and ask my fellow
I
colleagues
like the
to.
point where say when investors get involved into ESG, definitely everybody needs to hear the people who spend money. So thank you for that. Next, we have Nitika. Your thoughts on the broader landscape of resilience and ESG.
So, I think it begins with us to be little, focusing on the soft skills. But again, ESG as a in a broader perspective, it's more of, thinking in, countries' perspective, wherein you form the regulations with regards to, environmental, social, and, we have been always the part of the corporate social responsibility any which ways, even if you're at home, right? So that way we look into it. The broader perspective mellows down to the organization, the men, women, the humans, right, and your daily habits. I think that's that also, kind of, which is not being called out, but forms the part of the landscape. I think that's my point of view. Thank you.
We will start with that. Thank you. Kavita?
First and foremost, I would like to thank MidCat for taking such great initiatives and primarily focusing on women empowerment, because that is the key and the most needed in today's landscape that we are living in. And another to your point, on where we are going in cyber threat landscape. First and foremost, when the cyber security is evolving day by day, and when we are talking about resilience, that's way ahead, because you know uh, cybersecurity, when we are growing in that platform, there is always a need for aligning to the growing technologies. The technology, right, they started off with cloud, and then AML, IoT. There are different technologies in different sectors that is evolving with the regulations, specifically, as Debrata rightly pointed out, that we have to have strong for us to really evolve and secure our environment. And the organizations have stopped thinking, which is a very good point, to leverage their existing cybersecurity controls, or with the ESG, or any line of controls that we are working on. We are stopped thinking about planning and just being ready for an incident to occur and to take corrective actions. They are becoming more resilient. They want to see how resilient can my organizations be when there is any disruption, or issue, or incident that may occur. So the resilience is taking a big wider scope. It's building day by day. It is showing the organizations, especially the board of directors, the need for being more resilient in the environment than being just enabling the required controls, right? So I'm sure when the organizations are thinking about evolving and becoming more resilient day by day, it's not specific to India or APAC. Across the globe, right, across the globe, it is evolving, and I'm sure our entire globe is looking forward for making it more resilient. I leave it there.
Thank you. Thank you. I think cybersecurity is going to be, it has been the talk of the town, I say, for 1 decade. We'll have to see whether it sustains the next decade. That's on my agenda. Okay, next we have Divita. Divita, your thoughts on the broader landscape, how you see resilience, ESG in the current domain of Asia, basically.
Sure, thanks. So I'll answer this question in two parts, because resilience and ESG are big terms by themselves. So firstly, resilience part. After COVID, we have seen a lot of increase in cyber security attacks. Kavita would agree with me, right? The focus of the organizations earlier was to, maybe, look into cyber security teams and that. But now they have to build, with the latest tools, threat intelligence tools, some SOC they need to build, and so many other things they have to put in place, so that they can protect their organization from the threats, which can be anyone, like ransom attacks are being on the rise. So resilience means building an infrastructure. Like I belong from a commodity exchange perspective, and I see that, we are a critical infrastructure. And as part of the entire thing, it is very, very important that we are, not only catching up with the security new things which are happening, but also we are, ahead of them. We are proactively able to manage those things. So cybersecurity in terms of resilience is very important. Second part I would want to also highlight from a resilience perspective, we always talk about the external threats. But for me, I have a little diverse view here. Business risk is one of the important aspects which many organizations, if they do not incorporate as part of the resilience structure, they may fail. We have seen what happened to Nokia, what has happened to, BlackBerry. They did not innovate on time, and definitely the resilience of the organization while they were working, the business was not there. So there's nothing to say if the business is not there. So business is the key forefront. Coming to ESG part, I belong to India, and in India setup, as I said. So 1,000 listed companies have to report. The BRSR reporting as per the SEBI, and top 250 companies have to give the core assurance. So the focus primarily, I think, while more reporting has gone up to 29%, but majorly the focus is here to do more of reporting. The real ESG benefits are yet to see in, at least in India. That's what I can conclude.
Okay, I think there are very interesting points, and especially coming from a domain, from a critical infrastructure kind of company. I think very, very valid points from your side. Okay, so we'll start with the next round of question, and probably taking a cue from what you said. Resilience is evolving, right? So what I would like to ask Debrathy here is probably, what are the new tricks of trade, I call, that current resilience professionals, male, females, both have to learn to stay relevant in 2025? I think there was a wave of, probably post-COVID, there was a separate wave, but probably work from home returning in a way. Work from home probably evaporating. That's the term I want to use. And more organizations, the larger ones like Amazon, JP Morgan, saying, okay, come back to office or something. You have to manage expectations or risk, which are both in office, at home, in a wider way. So what new tricks of trade resilience professionals have to learn to stay relevant in 2025? And probably you can also highlight how do you see the industry transform with regards to resilience in the region?
Thank you for that question, Mitesh. And I did really love that term, tricks of the trade, because there cannot be one particular or two tricks, which you can, I would say, adopt to be resilient in true sense. So, couple of things. So, as an individual as well as an organization, the first and key thing is learning. So that is something which is going to stay even after it's a decade, or if you're having a WISER panel in 2035, that is something which is definitely going to be a constant thing. So you have to upskill yourself, you have to learn, and you have to come out of your thought process. So you just mentioned, Mitesh, that earlier pre-COVID, work from home was kind of leverage, or okay, if people are working from home, they are probably it's a day off, they are working coolly at their own pace. COVID changed that perspective, and then everybody is like, oh, if we can work from home, we don't need any other resilient strategies. But now again, organizations are changing that thought process. So learn, evolve, and adopt new practices to stay abreast. So that's one thing. Again, I will take a cue from what Divyata mentioned in terms of business risk. So when you are creating a framework of resilience in your organization, so reach out to the business leaders, who are your key stakeholders. Understand their various impacts, as well as I would say the variables which is there in business, and compare it with industry standards and whatever you have learned from your certifications, the thumb rules, the guidelines, and see what is that you can adopt and make it more efficient for your organization. The other bit of learning is, of course, peer-to-peer interaction in the organization across the industry members. While what is working in a manufacturing, that cannot be completely replicated in, say, a hospital or medicine industry or ITS, but somewhere the thumb rules of resiliency, or I would say the basic knowledge, is same. So how you can build upon it is up to your creativity, and that is something which you will understand, or you can create after meeting few people in the industry. So that's one, and that includes junior resources as well. And then, of course, in terms of resiliency, you always have to look at the bigger picture. So if you thought that, if Houthi rebels are doing something, it's not going to impact me because I'm in Sri Lanka or I'm in India, just think loud. Where is the supply chain resiliency? Have you ever thought about it? So it's high time that we kind of combine or look into the same frame, where we have operational risk, where we have vendor governance, where we have business continuity, where we have cyber resilience, and all other, risk programs together. So this is something which needs to be done. Again, with my favorite topic, it has to be regulated. So we do follow the industry regulations and all. Again, from an individual perspective, and this is something which I picked up from what Kavita mentioned, that we have to be proactive, not reactive. And this is something which we have to teach our board members, the senior people in an organization, to make it a habit. The other bit which we can do is that, of course, look at various reports and analysis. So this will help you in learning. This will help you in threat intelligence and all. MidCat does a brilliant work on that. I must appreciate you guys on that. So you always capture the global reports and you connect, you foresee how it can impact later. So we need to keep ourselves updated by going through all these journals and all. And in terms of how long or what is the future. So not just APAC wise, Mitesh, globally across all organizations, all organizations are learning to be resilient or trying to have a resiliency framework for the last couple of years now. But to be honest, I have not heard from any of them who are saying that, okay, we are there, the platinum standard has been met, and we can certify that we are the most resilient organization. So we have to learn how to be patient and we have to give it time. But of course, before that, the efforts need to start. So we'll just leave my thoughts there.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'll just summarize. So learn, evolve, adapt. That's the fundamentals of resilience. It will be throughout. Look at the risk program from a wider lens, not from a myopic lens, and make sure that you have some regulations. If not, use best practice in the industry. Thank you so much. We move to Harshali. Harshali, my question to you would be about. We talked about all these elements of resilience, but to have those elements implemented in a way, what are the tools, probably new tools, methodologies, frameworks that our organization can use to manage risk management or crisis management in a way? It would be great if you can highlight some of the tools that you use personally in your organization.
There were some comments which were made that we all are navigating in the digital age. And hence, I think it's important for organizations to capitalize on the available tools and adapt to the new methods to counter crisis. We can just talk about the popular platforms which are currently available in the market. So, the very popular one or the most in demand is the AI driven risk intelligence platform. And a classic example which I think of immediately is the data.
Okay. Is it me or he's?
Is used to analyze the real-time global organizations to have some proactive measures in place. While we talk about crisis management software, there are many softwares available in the market wherein end-to-end solutions are available, wherein you can conduct your BIs, your business continuity plans, risk assessment, and so on. Talking about crisis simulation, there are again multiple platforms available to run virtual crisis simulations, allowing the organization to test their response strategies and enhance the decision making for their CMT members in a
The audio bad for me? Just checking.
No, I think Harshali,
mass notification tools available in them, maybe with the employees, maybe with the stakes. And last but not the point, Google Workspace to ensure secure and remote access to critical documents and business continuity plans, enhancing the operational resiliency. I will be happy to share some of the best practices at Voice, which we have adopted to maximize or taking or leveraging the advanced tools which are available. So the very first one is the data surfer, which we are availing the services from MidCat, which helps us to have a deeper insights on the risk and the real-time updates. Talking about tools or various tools, it's a BCM tool. We work on continuity tool, which helps us to manage the life cycle of the business continuity program. Crisis management tool. We have an in-house tool which will help us to manage the crisis, end-to-end crisis, right from the start of the crisis till the closure of the crisis, till the BAU has been declared. GSOC, which will help us implement to monitor global risk, facilitate crisis response, and maintain business resilience. Crisis simulation exercise. This is one of the important exercise for our crisis management team members. It can help to have comprehensive training and simulation of various scenarios to all relevant stakeholders. So in a nutshell, by implementing not all, if not all, at least few measures, I think it will help an organization to commit to risk management and be well prepared to face any crisis.
Okay.
That's what I would like to share.
I think thank you for highlighting at least. See, a lot of times we want to implement things. Sometimes we not know what to do. So you have at least highlighted from proactively what you do with risk intelligence. Then during an incident, what you do, communication, what you do, document management on a day-to-day basis. Thank you for all that nuggets of gold. Okay, next I will move to Nitika. Nitika, probably from your side, I'll just go more on the wiser perspective. So it's always heartening to see more and more women are getting into leadership roles in security, resilience, ESG overall. Personally, are you satisfied with the progress? Do you see, is it good enough? It can be great. Or what could organizations do so that more and more women continue to be in this journey? And more specifically, not just get into these domains, but also get into leadership roles or functions of this.
All right. Thank you, Mitesh, for this question. I think the best part is that we are talking about this, right? And as we speak, though the number is less, I'm kind of satisfied because there is a number, right? If you look at the previous numbers from there, we are. So I was just reading about women in network. There is a site wherein it talks about there is a increase of 20 to 25%, though the number is less as far as the male counterpart is concerned. But then we are there making our space and making the place, and getting more women in leadership positions. And as I talk about organizations, from the organization point of view, I think we need to catch women young, and it should come from within a lady, as far as I'm concerned, in my family, I'm the only one who was as a female who was in the armed forces, right? And that was way back in 2010 when I got commissioned. And when I looked into those times, you never overthink, because you are in such a stage that you go ahead and nail it, right? If it happens, happens. If it doesn't happen, it does. So that's why we always call it catch them young, nurture them young. So train them young, so that those qualities are inbuilt. So when I transitioned from military to corporate, for me to shun off these soft skills was very difficult, right? And it was unlearning was very, very difficult. So I'm kind of satisfied at the same time. I want again. I think it's on women, to go ahead to talk about it. To be a little curious, as Devrati mentioned, the learning graph one should upskill yourself. Nowadays we have tech, right? You open your phone, just kind of start reading, something which is, and I think reading is very important. I have a daughter, I give her a newspaper, she tears it off because she's just 3 years old. But at the same time, that kind of a habit, if we inculcate amongst women, just start reading a page and try to know what is happening around, right? And that's how, when you get up in the morning, you read a newspaper or you talk to people, that's networking, right? Go and take initiative, you feel more confident. In another 8-9 hours, you feel that, oh, I started the day with this, right? And um and uh, and, and it's all within. It's more of a networking. It also depends upon how the people in the house are, your parents, those whom you're living with. What's the atmosphere within the house, and and how your friends are, how you're networking, how what are you doing entire day, right? And so that's one. So that's how you start. But if you are already there in maybe 30s or 35s, and you want to go ahead in the leadership positions, right? Then in that case, you need to upskill yourself. You talk to people, you stay grounded, right? When I got retired, I was like, I wasn't knowing anything, right? And I was like, military is done, right? But what next? And then I have to upskill myself. I need to understand what is Apex all about, the codes and everything, right? And then I have to make place in the industry. And learning goes, I mean, you have to learn day in, day out, every day. It's never ending process. So be curious, right? And be ready to upskill yourself. Do networking. Find out a mentor. Be highly motivated, right? And if it's not happening, it's okay. So I think it's okay not to be okay. This is what I want to say, right? And what was I think I answered your question, Mitesh. I'm missing on to something.
No,
But
no,
two,
but
three.
great. I think you pointed out some valid points. Catch them young, constantly learn and upskill, and don't forget to network. You never know where the next chance is coming from. Good. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on, we'll go to Kavita. Kavita, since you come from the cyber security, I have kept a very special question for you. I think I always say cybersecurity domain is like a wild, big ocean. It's a mammoth ocean with so many elements. And how do you keep yourself updated with latest cybersecurity, both threats, what is happening around, what are new trends, especially sometimes cybersecurity is considered too technical in nature, right? And how do you balance it off by learning new things and also making sure your day-to-day work doesn't get impacted, your day-to-day, whatever operational tasks are there with regards to your commitment to cybersecurity domain, learning versus keeping your day-to-day alive? Would love to hear your thoughts.
Thanks for that question, Mitesh. First and foremost, yes, cybersecurity is not a simple, one function or a small domain that we are thinking of, or most of them, wherever you go, they just say, I'm a cybersecurity expert, but not knowing what it really is, right? It is definitely not a one term. It is an ocean, as you rightly said, because there is lots of key domains that we have to keep and upskilling ourselves. And as Debrita, ma'am said, learning is the key. It's a continuous journey. What you know today is a history tomorrow, especially in cybersecurity, right? Because as you learn, as the technology grows, and you feel that you know something, by the time you upskill yourself on that, the predators are way beyond you. And that we always call the predators are more intelligent, that they know what they are doing and they know how to break the law, right? So we have to always be on top of it. And for my knowledge and to upskill myself, I keep a close tab on watching what's happening in the industry, by reading the reports, especially by Gartner. My Gartner, Forrester, and Midcat as well. You all help me in upskilling myself and to learn something new every day. How does that help, and how I'm able to manage at work is definitely because whenever we work with the different customers across the globe, right? We can't be talking to them, or we can't be telling them what to do by what they already know, because they are already having a setup of security controls, and we cannot go and tell them this is what you have to do ABC, which is a history. So you have to know what is growing, what are the trends, and what's evolving day by day, be it with the data visibility that the customers might not be knowing, on what is the loopholes or vulnerabilities that is evolving there, and what kind of tools that they are currently working on, how comprehensively or they can work in a centralized manner, the approaches that they are taking today, and the competency. And the competency, I have to really quote it out here, because whenever the organizations are adapting to the growing technology, they assume that cybersecurity knows everything, right? They can put them anywhere on any technology that is growing. But that is something that the organizations have to really relook into, because you have to ensure you're upskilling or training the associates who are getting into a new function or a new technology that you're adapting to, because it is different from place to place, and one formula cannot be applied everywhere. And cybersecurity definitely is not a formula by applying which there'll be zero incident or zero risk, right? There is always places where you have to invest, where you have to learn and evolve day by day. And the expectations from the board of directors or the management in today's threat environment, and seeing lots of incidents that's happening, is that I need zero incident. I don't want any vulnerabilities evolving in my organization. I want to be 100% compliant. The expectations are high, but to meet expectations, how they have to equip themselves, and they have to really invest in the right places, have to be rethought. And keeping aside the preparedness or the existing policies and procedures that they have to take a step back and see and assess themselves. We call it as RCSA, risk and compliance self-assessment. It's definitely like you do this test, right, the health test on an ongoing basis to check how healthy you are. It's similarly with the security as well. You have to self-assess the organization, do a self-assessment, and see what is the maturity level of your organization, and what are the right places that you need to invest to ensure you are resilient in nature. So these are some of the points that I would like to add. And being resilient is being strong, and continuous learning is a journey that never ends in cybersecurity specifically. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kavita. Thank you for your lovely insights. Okay, quickly moving to Divyata. My question to you would be in the domain. See, we are constantly saying that the risk management portfolio, the practices, the overall risk management framework that we have to manage is changing because of the changing landscape of threats around us. So what does organizations do to stay relevant and change their strategy towards risk management? Any real life examples that you would like to cite would be helpful for us as well.
Sure. So risk management principles per se remain the same. The strategies which the organizations need to adapt is to be more proactive in terms of their approach. Citing some personal, examples, like I said that we are a CIA. So the main focus is to be up during all the times. Like even COVID also, we were like taken as an essential services. So the primary need of the organization was to be available at all times. So here comes the strategy that, we are accepting that we have to be available. So risk acceptance. So what do we do to make ourselves available? So during COVID, as everyone knows that, people were struggling to, enable the staff to work from home. But being a resilient organization, or at least planning towards that, as MCX, we were actually proactively, kind of navigating and also monitoring what happened in China. So somewhere we were prepared that there could be a lockdown in India, and that's how we actually, prepared for it. And even before the lockdown was announced, we enabled the staff to work from home. On 17th and 22nd was when the announcement of lockdown happened, where many organizations were kind of struggling to, make their businesses work. We were resilient enough to, be available at all times. In fact, our critical staff was stationed in the organization. They were staying there and, making sure that, we are up at all times. And many, what do you say, departments were actually, kind of helping them to be there. So this was an example of one of the strategies. The other strategy is that, currently we have a third party vendor, which, helps us to do a platform with basically the availability of the platform. So earlier was the availability of the service. Here I'm talking about the availability of the platform. So as today's, risk, one of the key risks which everyone, faces is that their dependency on the third party vendors. Right. Earlier, the organizations had their own setup, but now with the advancements and so many tools and methodologies which are available, the organization cannot really catch up by innovating at their own, organizations. There is where the, organizations like MidCat and others, who are, constantly, innovating and, have expertise. Firms actually collaborate with them and, get the necessary expertise and intelligence. But at the same time, the organization do faces a lot of risks in terms of managing those risks with third party, vendors, because as part of the partnership or collaboration, the regulatory compliances which are applicable to the organization, that has to be also communicated well to the vendor, and, the SLAs and all the necessary documentations, the master service agreements, the penalty clauses and all needs to be enabled, so that the partner also understands the seriousness of the company or the organization, so that they are available at all times to give their businesses. Because if the business is not available, the competitor will just take the, advantage of that, and, your business can be destroyed in no time. So that is one of the risk strategy which we adopt, is that why we transfer the risk, like we also partner with the the vendors, where, kind of we collaborate with them, we educate them, we also enable them at some cases, like, if the original terms of contracts say something, and we want some services which, would be different because of the changing regulatory, landscape. Some more expectations come up as and when, SEBI comes up with the new circulars and all. So all this is also like we get into a separate agreements or, separate kind of services, where we can also let the partners be, collaborative enough to support us. And the third category is, of course, the cyber attacks. So we have partnered with NPCI and many other, organizations which provide us the threat intelligence. So this is something called as risk mitigation, one of the strategies that, we have the necessary tools and methodologies, where we can partner it. Because again, AI, as Ministry of Finance said, that, the critical services should not be using AI because of the data privacy concerns. We are such a esteemed organization. We cannot be sharing our data outside because you do not know whether data is safe or not. So we partner with the organizations, have those necessary filters where we get the necessary intelligence, but we are not exposed to them directly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Divita. Okay, we are short on time, so probably quick round of probably, I'll merge the couple of questions which we have, and probably a couple of lines from each one could help. Now, this is specifically for women in this domain, right? So I've started with saying the same, that comparatively, there's still fewer females in the domain of resilience, ESG, cybersecurity, still comparatively less, right? So what could be, probably each one of you can either take two, not maybe two lines. What could be your advice to young girls who are looking to build up their career in the domains of resilience, ESG or cybersecurity? We start with, and how can organizations probably support as well? What can they do to manage this talent gap? Could be maybe each one of you can take a couple of lines to highlight this. We'll go in the same order. Debarati, from your side.
Thank you, Mitesh. So probably I would just like to focus on a couple of things which I strongly believe in, networking and learning. So, I mean, both go hand in hand. When you learn, you get to know more people. When you network, you again get to know, you learn basically new things. And how an organization can help is, of course, kind of providing them with the support. Sometimes few of the certifications or webinars are pretty costly, so kind of reimbursing or providing that support to their employees. So this is definitely one of them. Kind of arranging interdepartmental seminars, webinars where people can come up and present thoughts. So this is something again which the organization can do, which can be again budget effective. And for the young professionals, I would just like to kind of mention what Captain Manisha mentioned in her session. I really like that term, the 20/80 concept. So focus on what 20% you can do, which gives you an output of 80%. That's a brilliant thought which I picked up from her. So again, a thought for the young professionals. I'm going to try it myself. So yes, those are the 2 cents from my end.
Yeah. Arshali, quickly from your side.
Yeah. So, business continuity is a dynamic field, and one needs to continually adapt and evolve to enhance their resiliency skills. And a tagline which I would like to quote here is stay safe, secured, and resilient. Thank you.
Thank you. Nitika, from your side.
Yeah. So I think what I could say is that one line is she can have it all, right? And the other one is, yeah, for the organization, I think that the leaders, especially if there are women leaders, the women are lucky in the organization. Number one. Number two is that leaders take with them the followers, right? You're leading with example. So if you put in the young girls and the women in front, right, being a woman leader, as such, you it's a win-win situation. I must tell you. The other day I was giving a presentation and there was a small girl, 23-year-old. She said, "I won't be able to." I said, "No, you go ahead and do all wrongs in the presentation. I'll take care of it." And she did all rights. So you just need a push, and at every age we need a push. Even the top women leaders need a push. I must tell you, it's a soft skill. We are human being. That's second. And third thing for the young girls is stay curious and browse a lot, study a lot, learn a lot. So and you'll be there at all positions irrespective of security, and if you're not there, you'll be there anywhere, right? So thank you.
Thank you so much. Kavita, from your side.
First and foremost, I would like to say that there is no base or a prerequisite for getting into the cybersecurity field. That it was a question that came in this session as well. So I would like to answer that verbally. If you have the passion towards any subject to grow and to evolve in, there is no limitations, right? And you'll have to always keep in mind that learning is a journey, and it's not like a degree or the schooling that you have done, that if you finish this and you're just going level up and there is no turn back. There is always end to end in all the circles, because that is a continuous journey in learning and to upskill yourself in cybersecurity field. And if you're doing as Commander said, it is definitely nothing is wrong. If you're doing something, please have that confidence that you will be able to break it, and you will be able to win that. And as even Debrita ma'am said, there is always networking, which is very important, that you will have to network, you will have to learn new things and set yourself targets, right? You should not sit in one place and think about how will I grow, who will give me the opportunity. Create the opportunity is the very, very important term. You create the opportunity and don't expect anybody else to come back to you and provide you the opportunity. And second, certifications is not the destination, because always people feel if I complete this certifications I'll be able to grow in this field. Definitely not. Certifications is just like a degree, right? The degree will not help you. Your knowledge, how logically you're managing a situation and you're able to learn and grow is definitely important in cybersecurity space. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I like two things. Create an opportunity. Don't wait for it. Knock the door. Don't wait for somebody to ring the bell. Thank you so much on that one. Last thought from Divita, from your side.
Yeah, so on resilience, that we cannot really stop the storm to happen. But what we can do is build a ship strong enough so that it will withstand that storm. So that is for resilience, that we have to constantly evolve and see that, where we can do practices which can enable the organization to stay resilient. And on the young girls, basically they have to work on their visibility and communication skills. The opportunities will be given only when you are making sure that you are available and up there in the field. As I see that a lot of places what happens is that the women are not given equal opportunities even yet. It's the sad part, but it is changing. Like there are many diversity roles which are coming up where thankfully women are getting the opportunities, but again they are very limited, as we saw. So certain people do follow. Like yesterday, I was reading a LinkedIn post where, it was said that men are not equipped enough to follow instructions and orders from leader. While there are peers, it's fine. But whenever they go one level up, it becomes difficult and challenging for them to accept. So for the organizations to really accept, I think that training should go to the men also to accept that it is not about gender. It is about the expertise and the talent which is brought to the table. So I conclude that with these
Thank you.
thoughts.
Yeah, so I'm just 1 minute above my scheduled time. So I'll just say a vote of thanks and gratitude from MidCat to all the panelists. Thank you so much, Dibirati, Harshali, Nitika, Kavita, Divyata. Thank you. You have not just enlightened us, but also inspired us. One thing I would say is motivation in all forms is welcome. So thank you again, everybody who's been on the panel and in the audience. Please take away the nuggets of gold from our side. Signing off, Mitesh here. Thank you for being a lovely panel today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Mitesh. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mitesh and panelists, for joining us and imparting some amazing and diverse insights. The panelists, they mentioned their views on the new trends in ESG, about regulations and its application, sustainability, cybersecurity, all in all, a very enriching and a very diverse discussion. Also, thanks for giving out very useful tips in staying relevant in the industry in the current times. Right. So now we move on to the fourth, which is also the last but not the least panel discussion for the day. The agenda for the discussion is societal transformation and the relevance of DEI. This panel will explore how diversity, equity, and inclusion are driving meaningful changes across communities, workplace, and industries. Who better to moderate the panel than Ms. Farah London, who is a regional director at MidCat Advisory. So glad to have you with us, Farah, and with this, I hand over to you.
Good morning. Absolutely. Last but not least, thank you so much. We've had amazing panels already, but we saved the best for last today. So we're talking about social transformation, the relevance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I have an incredible panel today. Now, if you are my panel, please put your camera on. If you're not my panel, please turn your camera off. So let's delve in. So we're looking in a world that's evolving at a very fast pace, socially, economically, and technologically. And as business and institutions and communities navigate these changes, the role of DEI is ever more important. DEI is not just a moral imperative, but a strategic advantage, fostering innovation, driving sustainable growth, and ensuring no one is left behind. So with that, I'm going to introduce my panel, and we're going to have an absolutely engaging conversation. So in no order of preference, but we have Satya Rai. She's a Chief Operating Officer for Leverage Security. She's a seasoned security and risk management leader with over 2 decades of experience in protective services, operational leadership, and business continuity. She has driven strategic growth, innovation, and inclusion within the security sector. Thank you. Welcome. Daniela McCoy, Corporate Business Continuity Manager Americas in Sonus Health. Daniela has, you've been in business community, crisis management expert, extensive experience in risk management, disaster recovery, and resilience planning. She has led business community programs across healthcare, government, and corporate sectors. And Dr. Nim from Thailand, welcome. You're the chairwoman of SME Committee for the Joint Foreign Chambers of Commerce in Thailand and a representative of Thai SME across ASEAN market and on the advisory board. And you have a deep commitment to SME development. And you have played a pivotal role in expanding SME growth in Thailand across ASEAN and into global markets as well. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about that as we move on into our panel. And Neeti Malik, a leader in business resilience. Hello, welcome. Crisis management and disaster recovery for Concentrix. With over 2 decades of experience in risk management, operational continuity, she has successfully led resilience initiatives across regions, ensuring business sustainability and cyber preparedness. With a strong background at DXC Technology, IBM, and Hewlett Packard, you've specialized in many ISO compliances, IST disaster recovery, and enterprise risk mitigation. Welcome, Neeti. And Archana, over 17 years of experience in cybersecurity governance, compliance, and security operations. You have led leadership roles at leading banks, very, very big leading banks, actually. You've done cybersecurity initiatives, IT assurance, ISOs, implementations, and you have a strong background in risk management and digital security. And you're recognized for your ability to enhance security expertise frameworks. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Now, Dr. Nim, I want to go to you first. And, you've obviously had many years expertise with SMEs. Now, what do you feel larger corporations should be doing more to actually help SME growth within diversity and helping SME leaders really drive that DEI agenda?
Thank you for the question, and hello all from Bangkok. You can all hear me well, right?
Yes,
Thank
loud
you
and clear.
Yes, thank you. So in my opinion, based on working, not only in Thailand, in other countries in the field of the SME, everyone's in, if you are identified as a SME, you are, having the same issue. Basically, later I think we can talk about, access to finance and also all the challenges that's coming to us. And, to reflect your questions, I think, first of all, we really have to, address the right questions or the challenges. We can see that now in around the world, as I mentioned earlier, that we always have the same issues, same challenges, but it's still there, always years. It's still challenge the existing challenges and also the upcoming challenges, which I would like to emphasize on the green transitioning for the SME. I think most of all that SME, we survive. In any case, any challenges, we survive. But, looking for the next day or the next month, the next year, what's gonna be, for the SME, I think that would be the key point where we have to think about what can we do to survive. Surviving, I often mentioned about SME that we on survive mode all the time. We just, whatever comes, we can just tackle it and we just live through it. But I think this time we should think more on what can we do to make the growth. That I think I want to look into the growth of the SME, where it's come to different market opportunities, capacity buildings has been said a lot, you know, until what it is actually, you know, what is capacity building, what's competitiveness enhancement and so on. I think that we should start with the base on what do we need at this moment.
Brilliant.
That's would be my first question. I hope I answered the right question.
No, you did. I think that's absolutely important. Growth is important, and survival, of course, SMEs, it's in their DNA. Thank you. Satya, now you've obviously had a very long career in security, and I want to understand what changes have you seen evolve over the years, where we were 10 years ago, and where are we now, and where are we going into the future?
Wow, Farah, first and foremost, an incredible introduction from you. It's an absolute honor to be at my first WISER event. Sandeep, thank you so much for reaching out to me, because I attend many events, many online events, and I have to say this has to be the most diverse event that I have attended. So it has already filled my heart with joy. So, how do I capture how we have evolved? The private security sector in the UK has been around 166 years, Farah. But only in the last 4 to 5 years have we seen the landscape change. And I am a part of that change. So I'm the first woman of color, Indian woman. I'm proud that is in a CEO role. So I am CEO of the largest security trade association in the UK. The regulator, the SI, the Security Industry Authority, she is a woman leader. The UK Crowd Management Association is a woman leader. The Security Institute, these key stakeholders, these are all key stakeholders in the UK private security industry, is a leader. So out of all the protective services, the police, fire, military, that is a huge boast. And I proudly talk about that. I've never seen that so that's something that we should be really, really proud of. I've seen a huge desire across the industry to have these conversations around diversity, equity, inclusion. And I'm quite proud that actually I've been key in terms of driving that change, having them conversations, having women role models, to turn to say, actually, look, so-and-so's the regulator's a leader, and role models that I have so many people that come to me and say, look, Satya, it's great to see you. You look like us, finally, a leader that looks like us. So don't underestimate that. And then events that I go to, a lot of them used to be mainly men, no conversations around DE&I. And I'm glad that we're changing that. And people every year now, all the major events around the UK, Satya, can you put a panel together? So I'm empowering women. I'm empowering the younger generation. I'm empowering women in leadership roles on the front line. We have 50,000 women on the front line in the private security sector. Not enough, it's 10%, but it's more than it was 10 years ago. So progress is being made, but it is being made slowly. But look, what we have to do, what we must do, is the sector is collaborating far better than it has ever done, because to drive this change, you have to have key stakeholders working together, talking about things that are important. A lot of things have been talked about today, and I don't want to repeat some of the brilliant things that have been talked about, but the violence against women and girls piece must be talked about, must be addressed. And as a sector, we are coming together and creating initiatives and having initiatives that are targeting how do we do this? How do we tackle this as a sector? Because we have 500,000 frontline officers that are uniquely positioned that can help and support us. So the involvement of our private security sector has been progressive, and and another way we've done that is having clear career pathways into our industry. We industry is made up of, it's a second career or a third career, and it's ex-police or military and so on. But actually, a lot of work's been done that actually we want 16 to 17, even younger. We want to target that workforce to come into our industry to be part of it, because I'm so passionate about the industry, and I have had the most incredible career in the private security sector, and I want to have more women part of it, because we are badass at what we do. They are brilliant leaders in this sector, and I'm very proud that they're, as a lead, as one of them, I'm here talking today.
And Satya, as you know, you obviously from the UK as well, we have seen recently, where in the Navy, in the Army, and in the police, sexual harassment has now been called out. There are court cases going on, and I'm sure it's probably a trend that is something that needs to happen to actually make change. So it's interesting. We'll come back to that, but I do want your thoughts on that later as well, because that's been a big problem. It's obviously not only here in the UK; it's happening all over the world. So let's talk about that later, because that's very important. Daniela, like you've got such a great a different angle, because disaster recovery, and I wanted some examples of how this inclusive approach in disaster recovery resilience is leading to better outcomes in being more diversified sector.
Thanks. Greetings, everyone. I'm not sure if I'm up too early or too late. I'm joining from New York. So first and foremost, thank you for having me. And thank you for the introduction, and to see some familiar faces from other panels along this topic. So it's good to see everyone. In terms of the inclusive approach, I think there's 3 high-level things that I can think of right off the bat that are important and how it adds value. So we're talking about a stronger social cohesion and trust. And I think a part of the issues that we're seeing across industries is that trust. Can I trust my company as a woman to come in and be safe, to be protected, to be able to do my job effectively and efficiently, and show off, right, and command the work that I'm in? The economic stability of it. So if we're thinking about being inclusive, and I'm getting the same opportunities as my male counterparts, or whatever other type of classification, I'm making sure that I can contribute to my community on a regular basis. That means I can go to the local store and purchase, small businesses, and make sure that they're running, make sure that the kids are okay, make sure that the school is getting the taxes, because I can pay my taxes, because I'm, that economic stability. So it goes so far. And then with that workforce resilience, we're not asking for welfare benefits, right? Because we can support ourselves, or looking for other family members to support us because we can support ourselves. And then there's also an improved crisis communication. So thinking about that disaster recovery, because bad things are going to happen, natural disasters are going to happen. It's just the nature of the business. So if we're thinking about improved communications, when we're doing that inclusively, we're thinking about cultural and linguistically appropriate messages. So I work for a global organization, and I can tell you for a fact, the messaging that we're sending in Japan is different from the messaging we're sending in the US. Not that the content is different, but how we say those messages is important, right? Because there's the cultural aspect and the linguistics. So sometimes it's the English version and a translated version, right? Because that's important to be able to truly gain that understanding. And if you're thinking about disaster recovery, preparedness, or resilience, that message has to get across and clearly, so people can do what they need to do to be safe. So I think that's really important, to be able to understand how your people need the information. And you can only do that through understanding your diverse audience and being inclusive of the fact that your audience is diverse.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about international business. It's about cultures and really understanding the diversity of business internationally. So you really touched a note there. Now, Neeti, in global risk management and resilience, how does diversity enhance an organization's ability to actually respond to crisis?
At the outset, thank you for having me on the panel. And it's so amazing to see a diverse panel, truly diverse panel. Not just we see women leaders, we're seeing leaders from different backgrounds. We're seeing people coming from different experiences and obviously very, very diverse viewpoints, which is truly amazing. To me, I think, I know a lot has been said about, women leaders, how they bring in a different perspective, bringing in empathy, communication, emotional intelligence, adaptability when it comes to, resilience and, crisis management per se, or even, when it comes to collaboration, they collaborate well as we heard a lot, from so many panelists across, the diverse panels that we're seeing. To me, I think overall, what it brings, and since we're talking about not just women, we're talking about diversity here. I would say it brings in a lot of broader perspective, in terms of, as I said, the experiences and backgrounds are different, so the viewpoints may be different. And we just heard, something like communication within the US and with Japan and with so many other countries can be so different, right? Um, and you need to have a broader perspective about, all the teams and people you are dealing with. It's about bringing in a lot of innovative solutions, because that's when, when you're faced with a crisis, you can draw from a wider range of ideas and solutions per se, which can really lead to more effective, I would say, and efficient responses to, different situations. We know a typhoon or a hurricane, and what we see on the east coast of the United States can be very, very different when it comes to, how Japan handles a crisis, right? So I think there's a lot to learn from one country to another, how to respond. There are things that are done better in some countries, and they could be best practices for others. So, a lot of innovative solutions you get. Then what you get is cultural competence. I think in this case, I would say, it's important to understand different cultures. It's very, very important, and that really brings in what we call, um, you're communicating in line with the cultural nuances. You are communicating effectively with all the stakeholders, which is the most important aspect when it comes to, resilience and crisis management, because that also leads to, I would say, a broader collaboration, a better collaboration, and of course, I would call it the culturally appropriate responses. Of course, resilience, that's part and parcel of, the DNA that most of the women come with, and combined with, of course, the rest of the diversity per se, I would say they can bring and better manage from crisis per se. It's about, the risk mitigation that they work with. It can help in identifying and mitigating risks more effectively, to my understanding. And I think you get diverse opinions per se, obviously leading to better decision making. And of course, you have inclusivity and morale, which is so very important. In inclusive environments where diverse voices are valued, they can boost employees' morale and overall engagement. So I think by fostering diversity, I think organizations can build more robust and resilient risk management framework, better equipped to handle the complexities and uncertainties that come in with, of course, the resilience and crisis management as a function per se.
Thank you so much, Niti. Thank you. Achana, I really want to delve about cybersecurity, because women and minorities are still very underrepresented in cybersecurity leadership. And what do organizations need to, make changes to really get women in leadership in cybersecurity? You're on mute, Achana. We can't hear you.
Yeah, good afternoon, panelists and the members. Thank you for including me in this panel discussion, which is very diverse and very informative. About the diversity and inclusion, if you see from the starting of the engineering career, which was started meant for the male counterparts, it has increased. But if you see the employment opportunities also, like 30 to 40% of the female graduates are getting, engineering graduates are getting occupied, or they are getting onboarded on the fresher level jobs. But during the course of time, we can see that the minority or the female leaders coming up in the row is very small compared to the male counterparts. For that, we should see, like, catch them young. All these taglines we are using for quite long time, but the number is not growing at all, or the number of leaders in the row is very minimal. As a person in cybersecurity and the CISO for the last quite number of years, I am going to a meeting. It is rarely difficult for me to see ladies or women participating in meetings where, and it is very difficult to get an opportunity to speak in those meetings. So the situation need to be changed, and there is no like, I am not reluctant to say that the women representation or the diversity is not given any importance in this type of group discussions or the cybersecurity discussions or the engineering discussions. So the organization can contribute, as well as the regulators. What they should do is like, they should train the people to be ready for the leadership positions. For that, any targeted recruitment, mentoring, all these things shall be taken care. Targeting recruitment meaning those people with the management skills. We should not allow the people with the management skills, whether it is woman or from a diversified background, to sit and do the daily routine operational tasks. But we should enable them to take to the managerial level and train them, mentor them, ask them to acquire the soft skills which is required for the management part. Then another part is about the pay and the promotion disparity. So what I say by pay parity is that even in big fours or the global organization, there is no pay parity between the woman and the male counterparts, or the diversity like people. They consider like a woman as an inclusion candidate. They are not considering that the women are working hard along with their household issues, their kids issues, and all other things. They are not working hard, but they are doing 110% extra to be in a interview as an interview candidate. So people should recognize that, and they should not be considered as an inclusion candidate, but they should be like the men counterpart, as well as the organization should understand that they had worked and they are capable for the position, and that is why they are getting selected. And the pay parity should also be there within all the organization. Even in our once I was in the part of a big four, I used to overhear the people say that she is an inclusion candidate, the leader is an inclusion candidate, she got promotion so fast because of the inclusion. So such comments, we should not allow such comments to happen in the organization at all. That is the one thing which we can do collectively. Another one is the professional development part, the certifications, the certifications which, like, we have our say information security or the cyber security domain is mainly controlled with the certifications. To clear a certification like IC Square or ISACA type, we need to put efforts at least 2 to 3 months continuously if you are in an early stage of the career. So women shall be appreciated and shall be given time to spend the time, shall be allowed to spend time on those certifications, so that they can equip themselves, saying that I am a CISA certified or CASSP certified, which will give them an entrance to the higher level. So the woman shall be given a priority when they attempt for the certification part. Then inclusive workplace culture. Even if the women are trying to be part of the inclusiveness, there are some hurdle or bottlenecks which they cannot come forward. So the people, the men counterparts, as well as the leaders in the organization should acknowledge that, and they should be given literally that inclusion part. So the women is a fall little behind there.
Absolutely.
That should be acknowledged.
Absolutely.
So these are the things
Absolutely.
to highlight in this part.
Yeah, and I love what you said. Women are, we are super women. We handle so much. We're the queens of multitasking. So yes, we can handle more responsibility, and we do it better than men. We do. Now, and I actually want to go back to something I brought up earlier about, sexual harassment in these industries, in security, the armed forces, the police. What can organizations do better? And I'm leaving this an open question to really address sexual harassment in our industry. So Satya, do you want to touch on that first?
Yeah, I mean, Farah, you'll know. I mean, I was on the news, the situation with the military young teenager who was harassed in the workplace and sadly and
committed suicide.
Oh, honestly, I was saddened.
She was so young.
And I look at that and I just thought, we're on the right path. We've got to do more. We must do. It's not just because it's a D&I aspect or it's morally the right thing to do. We have to do the right thing, and you do it. And the way to deal with it is, look, there are so many incredible charities out there that can help us, educate us. We don't have to be the experts ourselves, but look, there's a colleague of mine, Dawn Dines, and she leads the Stamp Out Spiking campaign, Farah, and that's a start. Having an understanding around having conversations around stamp out spiking, and bringing that into the workplace, and bringing, like Dawn Dines, she's got a suite of training and etc. She's the front of knowledge, bringing her into the remit, bringing her into our membership, and giving her the voice so she can speak to our leaders, she can speak to key stakeholders, and she can bring in her training packages. And then we've got White Ribbon is a violence against women and girls charity. You can again, they have an incredible amount of training resources, but they have ambassadors, and I am a White Ribbon, proud White Ribbon ambassador. But what we have in my association and our trade association, our male leaders are also ambassadors. So Farah, you'll know, one in every 3 days, a woman is killed by her partner in the UK, and by men. And the men have to be part of the solution. They have to be part of this conversation. They have to be the ones that share the conversations around this. They have to be standing beside us to share this important message and so on. There's the Ask. I'm an Ask for Angela ambassador again. That's an initiative where women, if they're out on a night out, can go to, if they are being coerced or they're concerned, they can go to a member of the bar staff and say, look, I want to ask for Angela, and immediately she'll get the support. She, or actually the male, will get the support, and etc. So there are various campaigns out there that can help and support, but it starts by, look, the workplaces. When my career started 30 years ago, but they never had domestic abuse policies in place. They never had. They just didn't exist. But there is so many things that we could be doing in the workplace, educating and training around all of this. So much material and so many experts out there, but equally having women network groups. The last place one of the last place, it was a big security service provider. They had 1,000 women in their network group. It was an employee network group. It was a community within the organization, and they were fantastic. They created policy. They talked about their own experiences, and it was an environment like this. And when one lady started to say, I experienced this when I was younger, or I've experienced this in the workplace, I promise you, Farah, it was like an open door.
Absolutely, yes.
You will, once you have that conversation, don't you find that, Farah, so many people will come on that journey and talk about it.
And I think women do need to rise up and talk more, because we have to lead by example. So we need to show the younger generation it's okay to talk. Does anyone else want to touch on that point? Niti, can we talk about in particular in India, what have you seen corporations do to address things like bullying in a workplace to really help women to shine and grow?
Yeah, I think it's important to take a very, very global perspective as well. And I just wanted to kind of share a perspective here. One, when we are talking about sexual harassment or any kind of harassment per se, it's important that, when we are part of larger organizations and are in decision-making positions, have those confidentially speaking kind of helplines or committees where people can reach out openly without the fear of being retaliated upon. It's very, very important. Have those diverse committees. It's not just women, you need even males. it's unfortunate, but though the numbers may be lesser, but I can tell you, there are also males who go through sexual harassment. I know we're talking about focusing on women, but this is also the truth that even males go through these kind of things. So I think it's important you understand that you have to give them an op- a place where they can confidentially speak and really seek a resolution, and then have your diverse committees that can really address this. In India, for example, POSH happens to be one of the clear charters for every organization. They have to have a POSH committee, which is a prevention of sexual harassment committee. And it has to be a mandatory requirement for every organization to follow, so that if there are any such cases, then they can be notified and addressed swiftly. It's also about swift action around those. And in different organizations, we have seen very, very strict actions being implemented in cases of harassment as well as sexual harassment.
And I love that you said no repercussions. And that's why women don't talk up, because they're scared of repercussions. They're scared of not getting promotions, getting left sidebarred. So you're absolutely right. Now, Donnie, going to the US, we're all eagerly watching Trump as he, does loads of, yes, I know. he entertains us every day, but he has recently ripped up diversity inclusion policies. So is the US going to be going backwards? What's going to happen? What's going on?
I think the good thing about this region is that people can continue to speak up for themselves, policy or not. So you will certainly, as you've seen already across the news, folks are removing DEI policies and commitments, and that's okay. We're seeing different protests, right? And that's protests in the form of maybe not shopping somewhere, taking your business somewhere else. We're seeing this huge push of back to work as well, which I think, for diverse persons, if you're thinking about folks with disabilities and stuff, work from home is huge for them, right? So I think that's something that we don't talk about either. So you're going to have a shift of the workforce as well, right? So there's a lot of moving parts that are happening right now. So I don't think anything is final at this point. But the beautiful thing about this country is that you have options, right? So, you can look for another job. You can spend your money somewhere else. You can get together and go to the streets and protest. I don't think we've seen the end of the changes that are happening. And I think what happens is when you push something on people, they become more creative. And so, there's a list of words or trigger words that you can no longer use in your grants and things like that. People are going to find other words, right? They're going to still have to meet the mission of their organizations and of their people. And so when we're thinking about resilience, and that's my main concern, is you still have to take care of the people in that community who are diverse, right? There are women, they are different religions, they are different colors, they are different abilities, right? And so that doesn't go away just because you don't like the policy.
I like that. I like that. Dr. Nim, I'd be really curious. I've been traveling to Asia for, over 20 years. And what I've loved, when I used to go to South Korea in particular, when I used to go 10, 15 years ago, or even 20 years ago, it was always women being the secretaries, they were the admin. But now women across Asia are CEOs, they're COOs, they're founders, they're entrepreneurs. So what shifts have you seen in Asia that's actually catapulted women into these high-powered positions? And what do you see happening going forward?
That's very good observations of you. I think I a bit of background. I'm from Thailand, so when we talked about gender equality and this kind of issue in Thailand, women, it's female dominated country. So I understand, all the issue because I have been living in other countries. But, in Thailand, SME, we have more female owners than male. Okay, so with the shift, when we see as Farah, your observation, you can see that when, start out when, let's say 30 years ago, it's always, women have to stay home. You might not, they think that we're not able to do some sort of things. But now you see a lot of changes. That's because it's proven. You have seen a lot of example. I'm going to talk about SME and family businesses. When you see, even in Japan, we have a lot of family business, even big corporations, family business, right? You can see that, okay, before a while back, they think, okay, the boys should go run, the sons. But then some ran out of option because they have the female daughters. I think, okay, why don't we put the female daughter, run the business? And I think, when you say that we superpower, we can do many things. I think the delegation of, we are very delicate, but we are very determined. We do things, so all men's here, so I can't say that we're better than you, but at some point we are very have some way to manage the situations in a soft way. So I think that's ourselves, as female, can prove themselves as they can also do the job as male. So in Thailand in particular, we have female prime minister, the second one already, and also, not I'm not talking only what people can see, what Asian, especially, Asian female can do. If you can think of, we should be kept at home or so on. I think that's changed a lot, because the opportunities or what we can do. I think the technologies help. When you don't have to really stay home, you can do so multitasking with help of different kind of tools. I think that's helped a lot for women to come out and then to work and then be in the bigger position, the CEO, COO, even the prime minister in Thailand. So like that, I think that's what it's not women and men. I think you can see, okay, physically, okay, then it's another part. But with the help of many things, new technologies or new ideas, and the business idea, like Daniela, you said that people can work from home, but that's what I want to touch on a bit, if you may allow me, Farah. On since it's this Thailand, I say that it's not only, we still have the issue with that with some different level, but in the small medium enterprises, yes, I think that's male and female equal. We say equal or not, but I think that's not the issue of the equality of the genders. But I want to say that's what we have seen around here. It's people with disabilities. I think that's what make the female who this people who are the type of people with disabilities are more vulnerable. I think that's part, a lot of talking in our community, my community, the Joint Foreign Chamber of Commerce in Thailand. We're trying to help female who are less privileged. We say that they're less fortunate, but I think that's talking about also with people with disabilities, and also when you're talking about the harassment, right? I think many people don't know their right or don't know what to do. So I think to go back to your question, yes, you have seen the improvement of the acceptance of female in the bigger roles or in the C level, and yet that's different type of organizations. For the big large corporation, the medium, yes, but we still have the thing to improve to support women, especially in the rural area, in the small community, or people with disabilities and so on. I think that's
and I love that. You're right. Thailand is definitely a female-dominated country. I love going there because you really feel the power from the women. Achana, I just wanted to talk to you quickly because we're going to be wrapping up soon. So all of you think of a 30-second closing. So while I speak to Achana, think of what you're going to say in 30 seconds. But Achana, what roles do you feel regulatory bodies should be putting more influence for DEI adoption in the cybersecurity sphere?
Yeah, actually, the regulatory bodies can contribute more into this. Actually, to ensure that woman participation is there. For example, the US laws and the aids given to women education with respect to the cybersecurity and engineering domains. The Australia has come up with the new rules, and even the Indian Companies Act, they want the women representation in the board meetings. So a person with a technology capability and with the board being a lady, like coming from an engineering domain, that can add to that can really contribute to this diversified field. But from my perspective, rather than becoming depending upon the regulator or any other bodies, we ourselves can contribute much to the women empowerment in the cybersecurity field. Make sure that each one of us are making sure that one of our team is having a woman representation, one of our peer colleague is getting certified, getting the right experience, being eligible for the next job or to the next higher level of responsibility. That will make the scene perfect.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, Daniela, give me 30 seconds. What's your closing for us?
Yeah,
I would like to say approach your work as if no one else is like you. And if you do that, you're going to have to be more inclusive to try to gather that input from other folks. I really want to stress the fact that, resilience crosses so many different focuses, right? So we could be resilient in accounting, we could be resilient in IT, we can be resilient in forensics. It doesn't really matter. So working with your business continuity professional, your organization, whatever the name of that title is, really working with them is going to be of a benefit. And then I just want to give a shout out to mentorship. I think it really has the ability to challenge biases and give people opportunities. And that's not just women focused or whatever that looks like. When people have the opportunity to ask in safe environments, it really makes a difference.
Thank you, Daniela. Niti, 30 seconds. What do you have for us?
Just a small message to all the amazing, fearless women leading functions like security, resilience, cybersecurity. Your strength, your intelligence, your unwavering dedication, they're the pillars of a safer world, and not just this world, even our digital world. So keep blazing the trail and inspiring the next generation that really needs you, all right? And stay unstoppable. Keep shining, always.
I love that. I love that. Satya.
30 seconds. Are you kidding me, Farah? Oh my goodness.
Good.
Right.
I
I'll do
challenge
my...
you. 30 seconds. I'm counting.
Oh, okay. 30 seconds. So look, in a world you can be anything. For me as a leader, kindness has to be at the top. It is the biggest responsibility we have. We have 500,000 security officers in the private security sector in the UK. I never ever walk past one. You don't know what sort of day they've had. Say hello, engage, what's your name, and so on. So please, if there's anything, let's see them, respect them, and hear them. I'm going to leave on Happy International Women's Day to all the incredible women. And my last final strapline is all of this is aim. We should reflect who we protect.
I like that. Dr. Nick, 30 seconds.
Yes. I think, the key is the network, like Kavita said in the earlier panel. I think this is a very good, WISER 2025. It's one of the example of the very good network, and we should actually carry on this one to women. So what we need, I said earlier, what we need is a very good platform for us, that we can talk together. We have like Satya, you in the big role there, and all of us here. I think we really needed to convert this one into a real network of women from different industry. I would love to see that, and that would be something that not only today is gonna stop, it's gonna carry on this one. So I hope this panel would be a good start for us all women, that we can work together, different background, different organization, but that's how, like Niti says, continue to shine. So we cannot shine by doing it alone. We have to do it together.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Niman. Chana, 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, my first thing is like glorification. We should not glorify women's achievement. That is the one thing which we have to do. But to push the people or push the diversified candidates to achieve their desires or their wishes, prompt them to do the more. Like the world is not fair to us, so we have to hit hard, and the glorification can be a negative or pulling back force. So don't over glorify, but prompt them to do achieve more.
Beautiful. I have to say thank you to all my panelists. I'm just going to leave some thoughts that, some inspiring things that you said. So, Sato, you're saying about, driving change, key stakers must work together. Donnie, we must, we must do messaging together. It's about how we deliver that message globally. It's very important. Dr. Nim, SMEs, we survive. I absolutely love that. And Neeti, diverse opinions lead to do better decisions. I really like that. That was really important. And Achana, enable, train, and mentor into management. Thank you. I could talk to you all day long, but we must finish now. So thank you so much. And let's have these conversations more. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah, and all the panelists for the inspiring and an absolutely passionate discussion. The panelists highlighted some thought-provoking points. So they also emphasized the need for ensuring that any action threatening the safety of women is met with accountability and repercussion. With this, we have almost come to the end of the event, and without further delay, I invite Harshita Suryavanshi, Client Success Manager at MidCat, to deliver a short and crisp closing remark. Over to you, Harshita.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this insightful and enriching discussion. It was an honor to hear from our esteemed women leaders. Ritija emphasized the power of authenticity, diversity, and continuous learning. Radhika highlighted the importance of mentorship, open communication, and taking responsibility for growth. Saloni spoke about flexibility, personal well-being, and upskilling to create future leaders. Sunita reminded us that learning is a lifelong journey. Steffi reminded us that leadership is about skill, mentorship, and capability, not gender. Rashmi highlighted the importance of breaking biases and seizing opportunities, sharing her experience from Titan's Kerala flood rescue efforts in 2018. Sadhna reinforced the importance of collective mentorship, men and women, to empower women in security. Meena spoke of the shift from manpower to intelligence, highlighted the growing value of women's perspective. Ivana stressed how diversity strengthens security, bringing unique skills like empathy, communication, and problem solving. Deborah T. spoke about regulation driver resilience, while the Europe leads with DORA. India and APAC need stronger ESG and business continuity framework. Kavita spoke, cybersecurity is often afterthought, while cybersecurity evolves, resilience, and gains attention only after disruption. Divyata emphasized on resilience must be proactive with the escalating cyber threats. The shift is towards threat predictions and monitoring. Harshali spoke, companies are embedding carbon reduction, waste management, and sustainability regulation into their core operations. Nikita emphasizes upscaling the younger workforce, particularly women, to drive greater participation in security and resilience. Satya spoke about the security field has increased women's participation compared to a decade ago, reflecting a positive shift towards greater diversity and representation. Dr. Nim spoke about SMEs face unique challenges in market expansion and financial access. Growth and resilience must go hand in hand after long-term success. Neeti highlighted diverse representation enriches business resilience by bringing broader perspective and enhancing culture competency. Archana highlighted while women are increasingly entering cybersecurity at entry level, their presence in middle management due to pay disparities and limited promotions opportunities. Donella discussed the impact of former President Trump action on DEI policies while highlighting that America continues to uphold freedom of expressions and remains a land of opportunity. A heartfelt thank you to everyone for your participation and to my incredible team at MidCat Advisory Services for organizing this impactful WISER event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for summing up the event, Harshita. On behalf of the entire MidCat team, I'd like to extend my gratitude to all the participants for joining us today and being so engaged and participative. Apologies if your questions were not answered, but I'd encourage you to connect with the panelists later and get their points of view. Before we sign off, I'm happy to share that all attendees will be receiving a certificate of participation. Thank you all and have a great day. Hope to see you all again another year seasoned and wiser in WISER 2026. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Vishakha. Great job done.
Thank you, sir.
Well done. Excellent work.
Thanks, Farah. Great job. Good moderation, as always.